Welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you. And let's party. Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, even though you missed the live party. Guys, that is the best part. So make sure you're here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. If you'd like to support the channel, head on over to theindianjesus.com for your very own official The Indian Jesus merch at theindianjesus.com. We do also have a free Discord server. It is completely free to join. We're in there 24/7 hanging out, having interesting conversations with like-minded people, or maybe not as much like-minded, and debating, and we get in there, and it is free to join. Definitely join that. But if you join as a member of the channel, the YouTube channel here, not only do you get members only live streams here, but you also get access to the entire Discord server, which includes the after party voice channel, where after we're done here, we don't have to worry about the YouTube censors, and you don't have to worry about being stuck behind your keyboard. You're actually on screen with me and everybody else. You can come if you want to. You don't have to. Either way, it is a grand old time. Come and join us. All right, guys. So we know, obviously, that the Trump verdict came down, and guilty on all, what was it, 34, 32, whatever accounts. And people, it was really tough to be able to articulate why it was such a big deal. We all, like those of us who know, have been following it, like, oh, okay, yeah, this is exactly what we've been expecting. But all the people are like, oh, he's guilty. Oh my God, he's guilty. He's guilty. He's guilty. And it's like, guilty of what? Guilty of what? So, you know, it was really hard to articulate how the courts really screwed up with the jury instructions and all that stuff. So, Don Jr. himself was on with Tucker, and they are going to be getting into it. Shout out to Mercy Choke. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. We got Brandon Murphy in the building. King Onion Ring. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Yeah, like anyone expected a different outcome from a stacked deck. But again, you got to remember that most people aren't paying very close attention. So they just hear guilty. Oh, he must be a bad person. Brandon said, I think our government is run by narcissistic PDF files. Indeed. Indeed. So I want to dive in here. Hopefully, you know, since none of us are lawyers or legal scholars or whatever, and we know that it's BS, but we don't know exactly why. Maybe you do, but I certainly can't articulate all the reasons why it was a sham. And so hopefully this will help us out. As always, guys, if you can on the video, please do let me know. If you wouldn't mind, do me a favor, hit that like button on the way in. Let's do it.
I used to think, if you asked me like even a year ago, I'd be like, well, come on, they're going to roll this guy over in a gurney, get him over the finish line. And I was like, no one would believe that. The whole premise of, their democracy, really relies on people actually still buying it. And I don't know that.
Remember, when they say our democracy, they don't mean our democracy. They mean our democracy, not yours.
I don't know that they care anymore. Because like when they talk about democracy, it's a soundbite, right? It's not democracy the way, it's not the republic they're preserving.
It's the opposite of what's happening.
That's right. It's their democracy.
It's almost like you get kidnapped and the kidnapper has a mask on, but once he shows you his face, he's got to kill you.
Correct.
And they've shown their face.
Yeah. Again, I don't think there's anything they wouldn't do. I mean, you put out something, I think it was on Twitter yesterday, which was, to sort of that extreme, like, well, if they can't this way, what's the next level? And I think they've proven that they'll do that in the past. I think we're now figuring that out. We understand it. I think the system's probably been broken for, much longer than any of us would care to admit. And for me, I saw it firsthand. And
at least 61 years it's been broken since they killed the president in an election year.
Exactly. And for me, even when we started this process, I'd say it's safe to say I was probably the number 2 target of Russia. And I was like, well, there must be something to it. I know I didn't obviously collude with Russia, but maybe I took a selfie with an agent once because I took 10,000 selfies a day, right? So
The gaslighting, and it is interesting. Obviously, Don Jr. is a lot more active in the space than Eric, but it's interesting how that it is that way, that we do see a lot more of Don Jr. than Eric. But I mean, it makes sense. And when you have the whole world, like I'm just a tiny little platform here. And sometimes, people will say things that like really make me second guess myself. And it's like, I think I know this thing, but everybody is saying that I'm wrong. I don't know. And it could really get your head going. So when the entire world is saying you're a Russian spy, maybe you just want to think twice. Remember, believe nothing except that anything is possible. Shout out to Am. Welcome to the party. Said it's BS because the judge led the jury. If you say choose which one he's guilty of, and it doesn't have to be unanimous, that's complete crap. He misled the jury to determine what he was guilty of. Yeah, and so from there was the misdemeanors that were tied to a felony, but the judge was like, well, it doesn't really matter what crime we're talking about. As long as you think that Donald Trump did a crime, then guilty on all counts. What? That's not how that's supposed to work. Welcome to the party, Amber.
Russia, but maybe I took a selfie with an agent once because I took 10,000 selfies a day, right? So there. But even like knowing that I was a target, I was like, I still believed.
I get it
because I wanted to, right? I wanted to believe
it.
America is the greatest place in the world, and you can do it. And I'm like, it's the FBI. And again, there's some door kickers that I'm still like, hey, they're home team. I get it. They're doing. Eventually, those guys are going to have to speak up, though. Right?
Facts. That's a great point. Because it's not like everybody in the government is a terrible, horrible, bad person. It's the function of the government that makes the actions of the government as a whole bad. These agencies as a whole bad. There are still people who are trying to do the right thing, but again, it's just the system. You can't change an entire system just because you happen to be a good person. So I'm glad that he said that.
Kickers that I'm still like, hey, they're home team. I get it. They're doing. Eventually, those guys are going to have to speak up, though, right?
We're long past.
I gave the door kickers a pass for far too long, which is like, hey, they can't go against the leadership, but like when you're watching this kind of bastardization of justice, when you're watching this sort of lopsided level, when they're, they spend more time, kicking down the doors of an Amish farmer selling unpasteurized milk.
Exactly. At what point is it okay to, understand that people have certain sensitivities, they have families, they have all that stuff. At what point is it okay for them to let, bad things happen? And at what point is it like, okay, that enough is enough. We got to do something here. Yep.
They spend more time, kicking down the doors of an Amish farmer selling unpasteurized milk than actually going after people committing terror because, they're trans or, whatever it is that they are. You really lose that ability to get that pass that I really wanted.
I said, shit, me too. Usually the bots are a little bit smarter.
Them to give, but I wanted to believe that everything I grew up believing was accurate, and it's all bullshit.
It's all bullshit. It's all of it. They're like, I mean, this guy. I was gonna say, okay, maybe the sky is blue, but this guy's not even blue. It's refraction. Everything that you've learned is false, and that is, the Cartesian philosophy is breaking down everything and operating from the point of the only thing that I can possibly know for certain is that I exist. Not that you exist, not that things exist, but that I exist. That is the only thing I can know for sure. And again, believe nothing except that anything is possible. Mercy Choke said the problem is that the alleged crime is federal, but they convicted him in a state court of law. It's unprecedented and actually not legal. Bingo. Yup.
You really lose that ability to get that pass that I really wanted them to give, but I wanted to believe that everything I grew up believing was accurate, and it's all bullshit. It's just all bullshit. So we have to fix that. That's why we fight now, to actually make it so.
But you saw this on January 6th too. I mean, I know that Joe Scarborough and the rest of the liars presented those people as like insurrectionists and dangerous. they were actually the most pure-hearted and the
100%.
most naive about I mean, they were literally walking with pocket constitutions. They knew you can't do this. They believed in the system much more than the people who put them in prison who don't believe in it at all.
Without question. And you saw that. I mean, the narrative was pushed so much. The clips that they used were designed to create something that didn't actually happen. I mean, it's so sick. I always say, it was the first unarmed insurrection in the history of insurrections. I mean, it's never happened before, but arguably, I'd say probably the most heavily armed populace if they wanted to have been, right?
Of course.
But they just chose to be mostly peaceful, right?
But of course it wasn't an insurrection. It didn't matter. And they just wanted to run out the clock.
Like they could hardly believe this was happening. And I think you're describing the same thing. Like you really believed it in our institutions and our norms and democracy.
I did. And it took, again, I mean, literally threats of, you're going to jail for treason, a crime punishable by death. That's like not a great swing thought when you're going through it. You know what I mean? I'm like,
yeah, I wouldn't like that either. Shout out to David. Welcome to the party. We also got Dietrich's in the building. Felony, like the sandwich meat? I mean, basically, that's basically what he's made up of, right? That's basically what he's made up of.
You're going to jail for treason, a crime punishable by death. That's like not a great swing thought when you're going through it. You know what I mean? I'm like, wait a minute. Like,
if you're the father of 5 kids, that's
I'm
not.
And yet I still, at the beginning of it, I was like, and then it just, your eyes start to open and you see the games and you see the people that are on your side and you see the Lindsey Grahams of the world, right? They get on TV and they're on, Fox or something like that. And they're like, well, we must subpoena these people and we must get to the bottom of this. I'm like, well, you're like the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. Like you have the authority to do that. But you're talking about doing the thing that you have the authority to do, but you're unwilling to actually exercise that power. So that was what disgusted me most about like the Republicans, right? You're telling your base, the people who are watching, like you're fighting. But you know damn well that you're not actually fighting, right? And we see that so much. That's the difference between. It's the difference between the Democrats. I mean, hey, they'll put their opposition in jail. They'll smother them. They'll silence them.
Clearly. And that's not like something that started like just with the Trump verdict. Like the tactic of shouting people down because you don't have anything better to say has been a tactic for the last 10 years. It's not new. It's just finally gotten this far.
There's nothing they won't do to preserve power. We'll write a strongly worded memo and do nothing to follow up. I think as long as you have that sort of imbalance in the response, nothing changes. Because the Democrats, they'll take their win, they'll run to the bank, they'll laugh their ass off along the way, and nothing.
Move on to the next. Shout out to JL. Welcome. Good to see you, buddy.
Nothing changes until we actually start fighting back.
I think a lot of people yesterday when that verdict came down, I'm among them, my first reaction was, wow, they'll actually hurt us. Like they would execute us, me, I'll just say, speak for myself, and there would be an MSNBC panel of former federal prosecutors telling their audience that I deserved it, and they'd be laughing. And the Lincoln Project would send out a congratulatory tweet, and
I disagree. It wouldn't go down like that. I mean, I get what he's saying. I think that's a little bit that wouldn't work. Would they take you out? Absolutely. But they would have to make it some fuzzy story like Epstein. There's no way they would just do it. That wouldn't work these days. But absolutely, they would be willing to do that.
And I was like, wow, there's sort of a lack of humanity. There's a coldness. There's an evil under all of this that I think I underestimate.
I think we all did. And by the way, I think many still do. Again, it's hard to believe that you could live through these last 8 years or whatever, 10 years and not think that. I mean, look at, that this is even, within 10 points in terms of an election. Like I can't name literally a single metric, a single one, geopolitical, economic, or otherwise, like where we're better off now. And yet they'll outrace us. They'll do this. The media still pushes it as though, Bidenomics is doing wonderfully for you. Like, I get it. I'm the son of a billionaire. If I'm pissed off at the grocery store, like, I'm not like one of.
Yeah, the economy is doing great, guys. The economy is doing great. You're not smart enough to understand that more expensive eggs and gas is good economy, right?
What? These woke guys on one of these channels where it's like, my 3-month-old baby was talking about nuclear proliferation on the Korean Peninsula, Tucker, and she was crying. She was scared. It's like, I get it. Like, I understand where I'm come from. I'm totally comfortable with that. I've been blessed. But like, if I'm sitting there with sticker shock, like, what's the country feeling? You know, if I see what's going on in my interest rates on my
What's sticker shock? Oh, like the prices are everything. Gotcha.
sticker shock, like, what's the country feeling? You know, if I see what's going on in my interest rates on my mortgage, like, man.
But Bidenomics.
How much longer can we do this? Then you talk about wars and trillions of dollars of spending, and then the Republicans are telling us that, you know, the Ukraine is the #1 most important issue for Republicans across our country. I've heard that from Mitch McConnell dozens of times. It's just not, right? I've spoken in front of more Republicans in the last year than Mitch McConnell has in his entire lifetime. And I think I've surveyed, probably I do it live, like just at a speech, you know, 1,000 people here, 500 people here, 5,000 people there. It's been a top 10 issue at about 65,000 people for 3 people. One of them was a
Shout out to J8 Cake. Welcome to the party.
DC sort of beltway guy. Yeah. He felt very strongly about it. Probably he was profiteering off of it. One of them misunderstood the question, so he thought it was a double negative. So it was not, in fact, a top 10 issue for him. Because is it top 3 or top 10? And one of them, it was top 10, but not top 3. And I said, sir, you know, and I'll ask him. I don't care. You know, I want to hear it out. Like, well, I'm from Kiev, Ukraine. I was like, I'm going to give you a pass. So I'm going to effectively say, out of about 65,000 people surveyed in the last, you know, let's call it 2 years, 18 months, whatever it is since the war started, a little more, I guess, exactly, you know, basically 0 people have been in favor of this. But the leader of the Senate will tell us it's the #1 issue for Republicans across the country. It's just not so.
How can that be? I was in D.C. last night. I never go back. I'm from there. And I took 3 people to dinner, 4 people at the table. Nobody drank for all 3. I am a teetotaler, so are the other 3. And it's a good restaurant, but not like a famous restaurant. Restaurant I've eaten at for many years. The bill was $800 for $800.
Not drinking.
Not drinking and nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Damn. It says, how do you feel about the economic performance of both presidents, given that Trump was handed a literal record-setting economy and Biden inherited the COVID economy? I mean, that is true, but it is also, I mean, it's also not good. Like it's not about how that Biden has made everything so terrible. It's more about the lies that everything is good. And I mean, I disagree that, I mean, we were seeing record highs, and it's just always convenient that, and both sides do this, that whenever we talk about the economy, if the economy's good, it's always because it was the last guy. If the economy's bad, it's your fault. And I just don't, I don't, especially with COVID, like you have to look at them in pre-COVID and then post-COVID, and COVID itself, how that was handled. Again, I have many issues with how Trump handled things. But afterwards, the recovery that we should have seen is not there. So if COVID is the reason that Trump's economy was bad, okay, I mean, that makes sense. But then COVID's over. So where's the recovery? Versus said Don Jr. needs some Adderall in his life. He talks too fast and has pressured speech. Well, then you definitely wouldn't want him on an Adderall, maybe a Xanax, but that's the other way around. Because if it was ADHD, then you wouldn't see him talk any slower. You would just see him, you know, more hyper focused. Shout out to Arjun. Welcome to the party. Exactly. Sure, Biden may have inherited the COVID economy, but he kept it that way well after. There's no excuse anymore, and that's one thing. But then there's also the lies that the economy is good, and it's not. Guys, you can do me a huge favor and hit that like button. It is free. It is so easy, and it helps out so much. Thank you very, very much.
For $800.
Not drinking.
Not drinking and nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Like salad, steak, dessert. $800. And I thought, you know, I'm pretty insulated from cost, but I thought, I can't. I can't. How do people live here?
My experience was opposite of that. I took 2 of my boys on a fishing trip, and we were coming back, traveling through an airport, and we went to a McDonald's, and it was my 11-year-old boy, my 14-year-old boy, and me at the time.
See, this is what I mean. Like, what metrics are back to normal ranges? Gas is up, groceries are up, the interest rates are up, housing is up. What is normal? What's in normal ranges? This is what I mean. This is what I mean. If it was just the message of, Biden's doing his best, but, COVID really, whatever, then at least I can engage with that. But like, no. By every metric except, the cost of things are down.
What? And it was like $47 and change.
Wait, what did you say?
Two of my boys on a fishing trip, and we were coming back, traveling through an airport, and we went to a McDonald's, and it was my 11-year-old boy, my 14-year-old boy, and me at the time. It was the last, and it was like $47 and change.
And I'm willing to chalk that up to airport prices, but the point stands.
For like an 11-year-old child, a 14-year-old child, and me, I'm like, right. Again, it's not going to change my spending habits. I'm not pretending. I drive it. My truck has 700 horsepower. Like, I'm not happy.
All right. So before the show continues, 3 of you said you can articulate the crime Trump is guilty of. Let's see it. And I'm not going to stop the show because I know that you can. Unemployment, wage growth, inflation, GDP growth, stock market growth. These are all from when? These are all worse than they were in with Trump.
Happy at the pump, but like.
But if they're telling you the war against Russia is the most important thing to Americans,
yeah, no, it's not.
They're lying. So both of us sort of skipped ahead past an analysis of the case and sort of taking it as a given that what we saw yesterday was grotesque and really sort of the end of a fair justice system. But for people who've just heard that and not gotten some of the details that prove it to be true, can you just run through what the case was?
I mean, it's literally.
And you know too much, I know, but to the extent you can.
Still waiting on anybody to articulate what the crime that Trump is guilty of.
Time we got, but the reality, it's a books and records thing, right? I mean, it's literally a filing. It's like a misfiling, and yet it's something that was never before tried as a felony, like many of the other cases. Like one of the cases in New York where they changed New York state law to be able to, for 1 year. They changed the law for 1 year to be able to go back and change a statute of limitations so that you could go after my father. And then after.
Yep. Shout out to Stephanie. Welcome to the party. Mercy said wrong. I'm a clinician doll or a clinician doll. I'm not speaking out of school. People with ADHD are slowed down with Adderall intervention. It only has a para-amphetamine effect on people who don't have ADHD. Ritalin also. I mean, first of all, it's not like these act the same with everybody. I mean, you can see since Destiny's been on Ritalin, the exactly what I just said. So and then if he doesn't have ADHD, then again, it's a para-amphetamine, means cracked out. So come on. Falsification of business records in the pursuit of violations of New York campaign finance laws. So then why was it what was the felony? What was the felony that this is tied to? This is a misdemeanor that is needs to be tied to a felony. JL said, I'm unbiased, but obviously he's biased towards his father. That's not saying my opinion. Sure. And that, I mean, I don't think we're looking at this to be the perfect legal explanation of everything. But in terms of what are these people thinking? What are these people dealing with? What is the state of what these people are thinking? Then as we look forward, then we can see where he is today versus next week. If he does whatever, then we have an idea of this is his state of mind today.
That year after that is filed and they go after my father, that was the Gene Carroll case. It reverts back to the normal statute of limitations because otherwise they wouldn't have been able to do it. This was very similar. This was a case that was, at best misdemeanor type stuff. Remember, Hillary Clinton started with a similar thing. She got fined $8,000, I believe it was, for starting what was the Russia hoax with the Steele dossier leaks and all of this, right? That was an $8,000 fine. They want to put my father in jail for, upwards of 100 years, depending on how you look at it. And that's never been done before in these things because.
Okay, right. So what's the other crimes? You need the other crime first. So it's I forget what they call it, but it's like, felony murder is like you if somebody dies in the process of you committing a felony. You can't get felony murder without a felony conviction. So what is the felony? hey, hush money is not, what did you say? Hush money is not tax fraud.
Basically, someone in an accounting department put legal expenses for, paying a lawyer. It's unheard of. But you have experts when they say, well, it's a federal election crime. They wouldn't let.
I would argue that Alex Jones is getting a little bit more of an unfair treatment based on where he is. But it's just trumped up charges. Like there's no felony. There's no felony. You can't tie a misdemeanor that must be with a felony without the felony.
The person who wrote the rules, wrote them, is
and the statute of limitations was up.
Foremost expert in all of that, actually testify for us. The jury didn't have to be unanimous on the things that they charged. They just all had to sort of come to a general, 4 guys agreed on this and 4 people agreed on that, and 4, that's unanimous.
And that's how all courts work, right? That's being treated fairly. That's being treated like every other American would, right? You just throw 3 things, and whoever thinks that there's a crime here, whatever, just vote and pick one and whatever. That's being treated fairly.
The bastardization of all of this thing, and just having been in the courtroom, candidly, was watching, when the prosecution, objected to something that we said, it was always, sustained. They let them, we couldn't ask anything. When it was us asking the questions, the uncomfortable questions of,
it sounded like a conspiracy theorist now. I thought that didn't happen.
Their witnesses, all of a sudden, we were overruled every time. Just the list goes on.
So you've made the case, and others who followed it carefully have made the case that this was a direct hit from the Biden administration, and 100%. They point to a man called Matthew Colangelo.
Yeah.
Can you tell us who he is?
Yeah, Matthew Colangelo was the number 3 guy in Joe Biden's Justice Department. So from Washington, D.C. The other big
sketchy is illegal now?
Part of this case, as it relates to that was...
guys, I'm not disagreeing with you. But it's clear that you're trying to make it fit where it doesn't fit. Sketchy does not mean illegal.
Justice Department. So from Washington, D.C. The other big part of this case, as it relates to that, was that they're trying to say it's a federal election commission case. Well, name another case that's ever been tried that's a federal crime tried in a state court.
So Matthew Colangelo is number 3.
Do we have another explanation for that? Why it's a federal crime in a state court?
3 at DOJ. So that's about as high as a prosecutor can ascend.
Correct. Right? And he was moved to New York. Don't forget, Alvin Bragg, the district attorney that actually tried this case, turned it down years ago. They could have done this 7, 8 years ago, whenever it happened, but they didn't. The Federal Election Commission, the FEC, that would have been one of the things that's around it. They could have tried. The IRS could have done these things because if it was a tax thing. All of them chose to pass, including, again, Alvin Bragg, the guy who's trying it and just tried it right now, passed on this a couple years ago. Biden's number 3 at his DOJ comes up, and all of a sudden now they're filing the charges. Conveniently right before an election.
A dumb question.
Yeah, but if you put those together, then that's conspiratorial. I would argue that it's more conspiratorial to say that all of these things are coincidental and has nothing to do with Trump and has nothing to do with the election. That is conspiratorial. Guys, again, if you could do me a huge favor, hit that like button. Please don't make me beg. Come on.
Question. So the number 3 guy at DOJ who's ascended this ladder.
Yes.
Okay. What is he doing in New York? I mean, that's a massive step
what is he
down.
doing? He's prosecuting his political enemies, Tucker.
Okay, but that's it. But nobody...
There's literally no other explanation for it. When you look at the bastardization of this, you have a judge who's a Biden donor. His daughter is one of the number 1 Democrat
When you say he's a Biden
fundraisers.
donor, he's literally a Biden donor.
He's a Biden donor, literally has written checks himself. His daughter is one of the most prolific fundraisers for the radical Democrats, Adam Schiff and she's made millions off of that.
Which underlying violations of the law? Just articulate the statute that is the felony, and then we're good. Shout out to Bon Sig. Welcome to the party. So what about bank loans? Isn't that a bigger scandal? Indeed it is, sir. But who cares about that?
Prolific fundraisers for the radical Democrats, Adam Schiff and she's made millions off of that. This judge allowed his daughter's clients, Democrat mega donors, to sit in the courtroom. It's like having front row seats, like you own the New York Rangers, right? It's think of how insane that is, right?
But can I ask a dumb question?
Which violations?
First of all, why would the number 3 guy at DOJ wind up in a case, in a state case? That seems like he must have been sent.
Of course.
1. 2, if the judge was literally a Biden...
I said shit. Me too. Dilly to that.
He must have been sent.
Of course.
One. Two, if the judge was literally a Biden donor and donating to, among other things, like the Stop Trump effort, which I think was one of them, how could he
That's being treated fairly, right?
remain the judge? How could he?
Because it's New York. What do you appeal it to? You appeal it to another panel of radicals, right? I mean, it was like the New York AG case, right? We got fined almost $500 million for paying back a bank on time with interest. The bank, who's the alleged victim, is on the stand being like, no, we love Trump. We want to do more business with Trump, not less. Having their portfolio was a feather in our cap that we used to generate other business. Doesn't matter. You're a victim. It's pure and simple political persecution. They're going after, there's nothing that they won't do to stop Trump. And they understand now, with years of experience in the White House, I think, going in as a novice was great in many ways, but you also don't know who the snakes are. You don't know who the people who are going to actually help you and be sort of loyal to the cause. And that cause is, being the duly elected president of the United States, doing the things you said you would do versus doing what the swamp wants, slow rolling what the president wants, all those unelected officials. And so I think the notion of Trump coming back now actually scares them so much more because he has that knowledge. He has that understanding. And I think that will make him so much more effective in a second term.
Well,
I completely agree. Shout out to Dijkstra. Said I said I could articulate it. Trump is guilty of being an innocent victim to the political hypocrisy. But he
has that.
Oh yeah. So I think that all of this is was a bad move for the Democrats. I think that if Trump had won in 2020, or they let him win, then we would already be moving on to the next stage of whatever America is going to do, and we would be in a better place. And so we wouldn't have the. It's unquestionable that people don't like Biden. Take Trump out of it. Biden is not a good guy. Biden is not a good president. So we would be looking at new, fresh people. I am so ready for Trump to not be a part of these conversations. It is so frustrating that so many people think this is about Trump. Oh, you're in a cult. You love Trump. Trump can do anything. It's not about Trump. I don't give a fuck about Trump. I don't really like Trump. I just think he's clearly the better option. And so now the fact that he's had the 4 years to look at all, what's been going on and the mistakes that he made, and hearing from people like us telling him that we didn't like what he did, and seeing that, for instance, that maybe even though Project Warp Speed was an amazing feat of medical science, what they did with it is not something you want to remind people of. And so I think he's, it didn't help him. It said, what's the point of campaign finance laws and tax fraud laws if they don't matter if the person wins the election? What's the point of campaign finance laws and tax fraud laws if they don't matter if the person wins the election? They should matter, but that's not what we're talking about. You could make that argument if you want, but that's a different conversation. That's exactly the point. It's just like, okay, he did this, but we can't get him on that. So just whatever you can get him on, just anything.
The notion of Trump coming back now actually scares them so much more because he has that knowledge. He has that understanding. And I think that will make him so much more effective in a second term.
Well, and also, if you're going to kill the king, you better kill the king.
Yeah, but you best not miss, as the saying goes.
That's
right?
That's what I'm worried about. The fact that they even with this, everybody is still, it hasn't changed anybody's mind except the people who weren't really sure. And now they're like, hell yeah, let's go Trump. I don't know what other options they can have. Shout out to Harley Rose. Welcome to the party. Good to see ya.
In a second term.
Well, and also, if you're going to kill the king, you better kill the king.
Yeah, but you best not miss, as the saying goes.
That's
right?
exactly right. So are you worried? Well,
yes.
A couple questions. No. Will this stop the campaign? Like, what effect is this going to have?
Listen, I spoke to my father, right after the verdict, today. I mean, obviously, it's a somber moment. I mean, and, you know me well enough. I can pretty much, fight through anything, and we keep going, and he will too. But it is a somber moment, more so for our country. So, but if anything, I would say it's actually strengthened his resolve. I think listen, in 16, it was the elevator ride right before.
Yeah, before he goes into that, America said, "Show me the man, I'll show you the crime." And I ad nauseum, whenever we talk about politics, I always try to frame this and saying, "Look, we're not talking about who we want to be friends with and who's a nice person and who's the most moral, whatever. We are talking about who is best fit out of the options that we have to run the country. Who is more in touch with the what the people want? Who is more willing to try to put themselves in the position to make America better, even if it is in a selfish way, which absolutely it is, no matter who we're talking about, Trump, Biden, Vivek, whoever, certainly Hillary. It's whose selfishness best aligns with what we want as Americans. Shout out to Ledley Stink Eater. Welcome to the party. Good to see ya. Oh, I'm gonna assume that's for Mercy. All right.
I think listen, in 16, it was the elevator ride right before the infamous escalator ride. Now we find out who our real friends are. He knew what was going to happen. He knew the celebrities would go, but he knew that, and he did it anyway. I think after 2020, he understood that if he just went home, he could go play golf and go back to building buildings and making millions and getting paid to give speeches and stuff like that. There's just too much at stake. And so,
there's too much at stake. And that, shout out to Darian from the Discord server. We were talking about this last night, and this is an argument that before 2016, my dad would say, I mean, a lot of people would say this, but specifically I'd be talking with my dad about, this specific talking point. Why would he do this? He's already rich. He's already got everything. Why would he do this? And I, for whatever reason, thought that it was a reasonable thing to say, well, because he just has to be a winner and he's won everything else. And so now the only thing he can do is go to the presidency. Stupid. That made sense to me in 2015. I don't know what to tell you. I was a different person then. But fine. Let's just say that let's take that and say that he's such a sociopath that he's going to put himself through all of this just to have a Trump presidency on the in his legacy. Why then would he be doing it again in the face of all of this? You don't think that whoever would be willing to cut a deal? Look, you don't run, and all of this goes away. You don't think that came up about anything in the last 8 years? But clearly, there's something else more important to Trump than his legacy. That's if not, then what is the rationale? Unless you think he is legitimately insane in terms of not fit to stand trial, what's more important to Trump than his legacy is the country. And again, I thought that was, a cheesy whatever, but what else would be? What would you say, David? How would you answer this question? Why would he put himself through all of this if he didn't care about anything besides himself? Mercy said, Trump is the better of two bad options, in my opinion. But I'm European, so what the fuck do I know? Probably more than a bunch of us, Americans. We don't pay attention to that shit. Von Zig said they're keeping the bank loans trial for if he becomes president. I don't know. I'm really not sure if they're going to let it get that far. But I mean, the thing is, they don't need it at this point. If they're going to lock him up, they already have what they need. They already have what they need to call him a felon, and that's the propaganda that is relevant.
He's just unwilling to stop.
I got to think a lot of people are looking back to 4 years ago and reaching the conclusion, well, if they'll rig a trial, they'll probably rig an election.
I think without question. I think, the reality
the other way around.
What I see.
Well, the rig a trial.
The amount of
people
from
an election?
The demographics that probably have never voted Republican before, that are just, grabbing me at airports, or like even walking down the streets, in New York the other day. It's amazing. I mean, I did for example, I was one of the probably most out there people in terms of rallies and campaigns, doing my own thing in 16 and 20. I think, just for example, October of 2020, I think I did 104 rallies in that month. So like 4 a day for a month straight. Like I'm on the ground. The energy in 2020 was better than even 16, amazingly enough, but they had that ability to weaponize COVID and all of that stuff. We saw the nonsense. It's so much stronger right now, and we're still 6 months out. That doesn't mean they won't do, again, I don't even pretend to think that, hey, it's going to be fair and they're not going to cheat. And they're not, I used to probably think that, hey, there's only so far they can go. Like how they're going to roll this guy over the line in a gurney and, pretend he's, because I used to think they actually had maybe a little bit of shame.
Nope. No, I really don't understand how they haven't. I mean, I'm expecting a switch out. I don't think it's going to be Trump and Biden. I don't think that because we already know that Trump wins that election. We already know that popularity contest that is a U.S. General election. Biden is not going to win that. And even if he were, the chances of him making it another 4 years, I don't know about that. Harley said, being a felon doesn't stop you from being a president, but it does make it way more difficult. Convenient. He said, I think at this point, the only thing he cares about more than his name is avoiding prison, like some massive fraction of people he surrounded himself with have done. Right. So, again, if this is the case, then why would he not say, okay, you got me. I'm not trying to go to prison. They're trying to send me to Rikers with no Secret Service. Fine, you win. I won't run. If this is true, then why would we not see that? That is a very easy way for him to avoid prison. Okay, I won't run. Drop the charges and I won't run. But he hasn't done that. Trump already lost that competition twice if you count the popular vote. Well, I don't, because we're American and we are not a direct democracy. We are a democratic republic.
Because I used to think they actually had maybe a little bit of shame, but that's not actually at all true. I don't think they care anymore. They're laughing at, when they use democracy, it's a soundbite.
But they're never
laugh
punished.
About at their cocktail
They're never
parties.
punished. They weren't punished for the Iraq War.
Correct.
Or the Afghanistan withdrawal
or COVID
or the lies around COVID, the vaccine mandates. They weren't punished for the 2020 election.
Russia. I mean, not only are they not punished, Tucker, they're given better jobs. They either keep their job and then they get a CNN contributorship to talk about preserving democracy.
But maybe, if you treated your kids this way, they'd be sociopaths.
I think they are.
Yeah, well, they certainly are.
They are.
I'm sure they had boomer parents who indulge them, of course.
David, maybe you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm saying in once these charges first started coming, and they didn't have anything. They were, trying to do Russia. They were raiding Mar-a-Lago. It was very, very clear at that point that they weren't just going to stop. We're like, we almost got you. That it was very clear at that point. So again, if your contention is that the only thing he cares about is avoiding prison, then what that would mean is that he would do the things that would avoid him going to prison. It's only now, because he chose not to go down that road, that he's in this position. He very easily could have avoided the threat of prison by not running. But he didn't. And I still haven't gotten an answer from you as to why. And I still haven't gotten an answer from you as to the articulation of the felony that was committed that the misdemeanors are tied to. And says the charges were in the ledger as legal expenses. Not sure how that's falsifying records. Me neither. Then Bonzig says, does the punishment match the crime? And again, shout out to Darian. This is what I was talking about with Alex Jones. I did that stream yesterday. And it seems like some people think that there is either, it's just an all or nothing. What Alex Jones did was wrong. Alex Jones was incorrect. He was passionately and arrogantly incorrect. He ran with a story that defamed people and added to their real trauma and all of that. That's not $1.5 billion worth of damage. Sorry. And again, as I said, I'm not a legal expert or a judge or a prosecutor or whatever, so I couldn't tell you what is. But I certainly can tell you that $1.5 billion for saying the wrong thing is not fair. And neither is having a trial where the jury doesn't even have to agree. David said, I don't think the charges are tied to him campaigning. I don't think they're tied to anything. He paid for hose. Who writes that down? Well, fucking Cohen, right?
To talk about preserving democracy.
But maybe, I mean, if you treated your kids this way, they'd be sociopaths.
I think they are.
Yeah, well, they certainly are.
They are.
I'm sure they had boomer parents who indulged them, of course.
Oof. So Marcy said he won't go to jail. Bet on it. This is dialectical theater. So some of you guys are not with me today. I am amazed that 71% of you think that if Biden was facing charges like this, that he would still run. That is insane to me. Based on what would you think that the Biden administration would? What reason would they have? Like I said, it already makes sense that they're just going to push him aside. But hey, we don't have to agree on everything. So let's make a poll out of what Mercy's saying here. Is Trump going to see a jail cell? I think he is. They already are trying to, mix up his sentencing. Remember, sentencing isn't until July, but we already have leaks. They're trying to break up the sentence so that there's 1 year or less, so that they can put him in Rikers, and they're also trying to take away his protective service, his Secret Service. So they want him just in Rikers like any other person. Now, I mean, kind of feel like he'd run the shit. But that's not why they're doing it. That's not why they're doing it. They want to send him, and they don't want him alive. Harley said, NDAs often include provisions for legal expenses, wherein the breaching party agrees to cover the costs incurred by the non-breaching party in enforcing the NDA or seeking damages. So technically, yes, it is a legal expense. There you go. There you go. And here's the other thing. Just because I don't have the right answers doesn't mean that the conclusion that I have is wrong. So that's why I'm asking a lot of questions and not making a lot of claims. I'm asking these questions because if you have the answer to these questions, then I can say, okay, well, then my conclusion is wrong. Even if again, I'm not a legal scholar. I wasn't watching the trial. It wasn't, it wasn't aired, even though it should have been. And so I don't know the ins and outs. But that doesn't change the fact that we can clearly see that there is bias and corruption and incentive. And if you choose to think that this is just all completely above board, then okay, I mean, you can think that if you want. But I mean, then we live in different worlds, and I hope that we could continue to show each other why we think what we think. But that's just a different world, seeing everything that's happened, and just be like, yep, this is good. I don't know how you get there. Bonseg said it's legal. Trump was showing bookkeeping decorum. I'll take your word on that one.
I think they are.
Yeah, well, they certainly are.
They are.
Wait, they are what?
Keep their job, and then they get a CNN contributorship to talk about preserving democracy.
But maybe, I mean, if you treated your kids this way, they'd be sociopaths.
I think they are.
Yeah, well, they certainly are.
They are.
I'm sure they had boomer parents who indulged them, of course. But I mean, someone needs to be punished at some point, right? So it stops.
I know what this one means.
Without question. I don't think, we have not done that well, Republicans, right? The Democrats don't fear us because they know we'd never play the same game, because we actually believe what they think is a, soundbite. We actually believe those things.
Bingo.
This is when I really first saw it in full effect. I really saw it first in full effect when Emma Vigilant was on The Culture War. Was it that? It was something with Emma Vigilant. It was either that or the one she was at some convention. Either way, I could really see how thoroughly this is all a game. This is all a game. to I'm not gonna say all lefties, but certainly the people who have gotten to the high or the top of the commentary, your Emma Vision, your Majority Report, your I mean the Young Turks. I think they are really wrong, but I do honestly think that I don't think they're grifters. I just think they're wrong. Point being, it's a game. It's a game. It's about winning the argument. It's about virtue signaling that you're better than other people. It's not about making things better for people. It's not about the future. And then you pair that with the short-term rhetoric and propaganda of the left, of promising to give you stuffs. And then the flip side of that, when the right's like, well, how are you going to pay for that? See, they don't want to give you stuff. They're so mean. It's like, yeah, but if you give us the stuff, okay, now that people have the stuff, but the country isn't in shambles. That's not a good thing. You're not a good person because you're not a good parent because you let your child eat ice cream, breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day just because they want to. That's how I see the Democrats. I see the Democrats as the parents who are willing to just, the gentle parenting. And I see Republicans as the tough love parents who are not trying to raise friends, but raise responsible adults. Mercy said Biden is going to start a NATO war, roll out emergency war powers, and cancel the elections, like FDR 2.0, probably with Russia, or perhaps a three-front conflict: Taiwan, Russia, and Iran. Damn, I did not think about that. The World War I definitely did, but the emergency powers, I didn't think about that. So I mean that's another it would be something like that, or they take Trump out. But again, I still think that I still think that there's a couple steps. There's a couple steps between where we are and this, because I think if they believe that they can sell somebody else other than Biden, then I think they would rather go that way. As much as, I mean, maybe this is just my conservative naivete, but I do still believe at the end of the day that these people don't want to actively sow division and everything that they've been doing. I want to think that, like, okay, well, we leave it up to chance if we have a real election, but then at least we don't have to kill somebody. I hope, but I really don't know. Howard said, how is him paying an NDA a contribution to his campaign? Because if he didn't pay it, then it would have made his campaign worse because of things and reasons and stuff. And so it's campaign finance. Sounds about accurate, right? Bonzig said, if Trump goes to jail, there's gonna be protests. I don't think so, dude. I don't know. You would have expected that we saw a bunch of protesting after the guilty verdict, because logically, if we think about a guilty, whether or not the verdict should have been guilty or not, it definitely shouldn't. But now that it is a guilty verdict, going to jail is kind of a par for that course. So I think if we were going to see but I mean, you might be right. It might be just about the visual of seeing, oh, they really are going this far. They really are going this far. And come on, bud, what are you doing? Go ahead. What are you doing? Ruining the show here. Yeah, I really don't know. It's up in the air. Mercy said Harley, because it was paid out as a campaign fund, which is technically fraudulent. It's semantic BS. But again, unless he was aware of that, then that's on Cohen, is it not? It said the NDA was part of an agreement made with Pecker to protect the Trump campaign from damaging stories. But that's a general thing. Like that's such a stretch of, well, something negative for you is bad for the campaign. Then why wasn't any of the Hunter Biden laptop store? Like, it's the same thing, but you only apply it in one area. And so with intent to conceal violations of campaign and tax laws. I don't know the context of what you're saying there. Tom Brokaw said, I have a rock solid argument that this was not a campaign finance violation. We'll post it in docs in Discord. Docs? We don't have docs. Which channel? But I'll look out for that. Thank you. Welcome. Oh, I didn't even give you a welcome. Welcome to the party. Good to see you, brother. Dietrich said Democrats learn all their political tactics from third grade class president candidates. Three recesses and 2 chocolate milks with lunch for everybody. Yep. And so does anybody looked at campaign financial logs? This is BS. Hey, shout out to M169. Welcome to the party. Said, I appreciate your sweet summer child ideas, but I'm a bit more cynical. I've lost so much trust in 4 years. I have too, but what wait, am I the sweet summer child? Who's the sweet summer child? What are we talking about? Not right now. I definitely will watch it. Why would you just say that I wouldn't? I absolutely will watch it. And we'll watch it in the after party. We're doing this, but yeah, if you want to watch that, then we'll do that.
Believe
again, like as I said from the beginning, I'm not a legal scholar. There's people on both sides of legal scholarship that are saying this is good and this is bad. So that's like well, Fauci, you won't watch Fauci saying that you should take the jab, so you have no balls and therefore you're wrong. Again, okay, bro. Appeal to authority.
Republicans, right? I think without question. I don't think, we have not done that well, Republicans, right? The Democrats don't fear us because they know we'd never play the same game because we actually believe what they think is a soundbite. We actually believe those things. And it's actually hard. It's hard for me to say those things because I'd love not to have to play that game, but I don't believe there's another answer other than we have to fight fire with fire. As long as we're playing T-ball while they're playing fast pitch hardball, they're going to win. They're going to take their power. They're going to run to the bank. They're going to and laugh every step of the way.
And I don't want to do that. I don't want to really even be involved in politics. But it's a matter of, again, the stakes are so high. But I don't want to get into the if it wasn't about, this is the same thing with the dating landscape. Like once it became, if you don't play, you're going to lose. You can't just be yourself. You can't just, once that was not a thing, I'm like, I'm not playing this game. But that's just my own life. I don't have that luxury when it comes to politics because it's not just the entire country, but the entire world.
And they're going to take their power. They're going to run to the bank. They're going to and laugh every step of the way. There's just not enough actual fighters there. I mean, when you look at honestly, look at the Republican bench. It's not very deep.
No.
In terms of the guys that you'd actually, hey, who's the guy I want in a foxhole? Who's the guy that'll actually fight? Who's the guy that's not going to succumb to the pressures of Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, and that's a big reason why there's such a split in the party. Shout out to the Uncle Junior Network. Oh my goodness, with the $20 super chat, let's give him a giant treat for that one. Thank you so very, very much. Another awesome YouTube channel. Just drop the link in the chat. Please go check him out. Uncle Junior Network. No question, no comment. Just pure love of the game. Thank you so very, very much. I very much appreciate that.
It's not very deep.
No.
In terms of the guys that you'd actually, hey, who's the guy I want in a foxhole? Who's the guy that'll actually fight? Who's the guy that's not going to succumb to the pressures of Washington, D.C.?
Who are they?
I mean, right now, I mean, I love
the youngins, the America First candidate.
Guy like a J.D. Vance. There are a couple, but man, that list is who's next.
Mike Lee is kind of becoming that guy.
Yeah, Mike Lee's a fighter. I like Mike, and and it's interesting. It's one of those. In 2016, Mike Lee and I almost got in a fist fight on the convention floor. We were very different, but he's a guy that I
shout out again to the Uncle Junior Network. Very, very, very much appreciated.
Text with probably daily.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting that once you actually have that relationship, you can actually people come around. It's like, okay, you were actually right.
Well, people change on the basis of evidence and what they see. My views are totally different from what they were 10 years ago.
I think the problem with DC is for conservatives. it's actually an easy existence. You could be a Republican in DC as long as you're Republican light. You know,
Yep, that's again the split that I'm talking about. There's the people who are playing the game, the people who are willing to go along, and I think again to a certain point they all are. This in any conversation about politics is on the backdrop that these are all people willing to lie and do whatever that is going to get them ahead, all of them. And so that's the baseline. So from that baseline, that's where we're talking about. And those Republicans, the ones who have been on, just on the part of the uniparty. Hi, Morty. Those are the people that we want out of there. People like myself who are, more. I resonate with MAGA itself, but I don't like Trump that much. As a person, so I don't really care. And then it's really the America First aspect that appeals to me. But also Nick Fuentes kind of uses that too much. So we're in a little bit of a holding pattern. We need some better terminology. The lefties are good at that, but not so much. Months 9 said I was chose Sweet Summer Child because I was struggling to spell naive. Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely and am a bit naive in terms of what can we do here and how much. But you have to be, and I'm willing to be proven wrong that nothing can be done. But this is the whole issue with the whatchamacallit, the Gen X video that I did, where there still, it was 2 weeks ago, and still I bet you there's a comment right now, a new comment, still just a Gen Xer going for just paragraphs among paragraphs of we're Gen X and we're so badass and we're okay, then why does the world suck? I don't know. I'm not even 35 yet. I couldn't even be president if I wanted to. Y'all are pushing 50, if not older. What is Marjorie saying? I'm older than y'all. It's about my 14-year-old granddaughter and my 11-year-old grandson. It's their future I'm worried about. Exactly. Where's that energy? Shout out to Marjorie. Shout out to the X-Men. Tom said, you can't post pics in Discord. Here, type something real quick, and I'll give you the permissions for the other channel real quick. Harley Rose said, stuff can be done. It just takes a long time and costs a lot of money. Two things nobody wants. It also takes a lot of effort and emotional stuffs. Oh, you already, you already have that. So Tom, just go in, post it in Disciple chat. Yeah, you can put pictures in Disciple chat or DM it to me. Either way. Marcy said, please don't start bashing Gen X, please. We aren't a monolith. No, I'm not bashing Gen X. I'm bashing the people in my comment section who are making Gen X, who are purporting to speak for Gen X and writing 10 paragraphs about how they don't care about anything. It's those people. It's not Gen X as a generation. All right. What do we got here? Copy. Can I? All right. I'll just open this. Oh, hold on. All right. So what do we got here? Of course. It couldn't be right there. The Federal Election Campaign Act. The first of people's theories of, quote, unlawful means. Can I zoom in? Of course not. The first of the people's theories of unlawful means, which I will now define for you, is the Federal Election Campaign Act. Under a Federal Election Campaign Act, it is unlawful for an individual to willfully make a contribution to any candidate with respect to an election for federal office, including the office of President of the United States. All right, so it's unlawful for any individual, to willfully make a contribution to any candidate which exceeds 2,700. Okay, so can't be more than 27. So it is also unlawful under the Federal Election Campaign Act for any corporation to willfully make a contribution of any amount to a candidate or candidate's campaign in connection with any federal election, or for any person to cause such corporate contribution. Why do they gotta fucking write this shit like this? For any corporation to make a contribution of any amount to candidates' campaign for the purpose, so like give a quid pro quo type thing. For purposes of these prohibitions, an expenditure made in a cooperation, consultation, or concert with, or at the request of a request or suggestion of a candidate or his agents shall be considered to be a contribution to such candidate. This is not written for dumb people. Okay, for purposes of these prohibitions. Okay, so if you do any of these stuff, an expenditure made in cooperation with the request of a suggestion for this should be considered a contribution to the candidate. Okay. So the next one, the terms of the contribution and expenditure include anything of value, including any purchase, payment, loan, or advance made by any person for the purpose of influencing any election for federal office. Under federal law, a third party's payment of a candidate's expenses is deemed to be a contribution to the candidate unless the payment would have been made irrespective of the candidacy. If the payment would have been made even in the absence of the candidacy, the payment should not be treated as a contribution. The Federal whatever it is Act defines contribution and expenditure do not include any cost incurred in covering or carrying a news story, commentary, or editorial by a magazine, periodical publication, or similar press entity, so long as activity is a normal, legitimate press function. This is called the press exemption, for example, and so it goes on. So thank you. Yeah, but that's the big part here. These two paragraphs. Under federal law, a third party's payment of a candidate's expenses is deemed to be a contribution to the candidate unless the payment would have been made irrespective of the candidacy. If the payment would have been made even in the absence of the candidacy, meaning even if he wasn't going to run, would the payment still have been made? Then it should not be treated as a contribution. Shout out to Tom Brokaw. Thank you for that one. And that's my point, is that just because I can't rattle that off doesn't mean the conclusion that this was unfair is wrong. That's a silly position to take. I'm not saying that any of you are, but I'm just putting it out there. All right, what do we no, shout out. We love the X-Men. Shout out to the Gen Xers. Hey, shout out to Zippy. Welcome to the party. Said if Trump goes to jail, so do I. Does that mean you paid off a porn star that you had sex with? Fair enough. Yeah, that one got that one. Thank you. Tom said we need to only sufficiently establish that paying off a porn star is something Trump would have done even if he were not a candidate. I am sure Trump has paid off women and inconvenient people in the past since he's a rich, important celebrity and likes to throw the dick around. Therefore, they cannot conclusively that this payoff was for campaign purposes. There we go. And all right, David, convenient timing, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Thank you for stopping by and challenging me as always. Very much appreciated, guys. If you if you like the back and forth with me and David, he is an active member of the Discord community, and he is definitely somebody that it's not easy to get into it with him. He is an intelligent guy. All right, moving on. Bon's Egg said, shout out to the people who hit the like button. Yeah, how many likes did we get on that? We only got 1 like on the super chat, and we only got 9 likes on the video. You guys are pulling it out of me today. God damn. Mercy said, I will speak for myself here. I am personally not offended by anything, least of all my kids, who are both successful, well-adjusted adults. I work with confidence. Mindfuckery is my specialty. There you go. All right. Thank you for that, Tom Brokaw. Let's dive back in here.
are totally different from what they were 10 years ago.
I think the problem with DC is for conservatives, it's actually an easy existence. You can be a Republican in DC as long as you're Republican light.
Of course.
You know, if you're like, hey, say whatever you want when you're speaking to a group of 10 people in your little hometown, you know, you can come to DC, you can vote with the Republicans like 80% of the time.
Yeah.
When it actually matters, as long as you vote with us, the Washington Post isn't going to come after you. They're not going to be protesting in front of your home. It's an easy existence. You'll get invited to the cool person Christmas party and, you know, holiday party. I don't want to, you know, they don't celebrate.
Marcus, are you saying he would have paid off the horse face even if he wasn't running for office? Yes. When was the payoff? When was the payoff? I don't. Should we go with Google or ChatGPT? Okay, I mean, Google's been, you know, not as great. When did Stormy Daniels receive the hush money? That should be good enough. The case stems from hush money payment in 139 in 2016. All right, so I think I think that that doesn't bode well. But, you know, again, you can't conclusively say it. So what are you going to do? Laws are laws are laws.
Christmas party and, you know, holiday.
And again, even if it was, is that really what we're saying is why this man is worse to run the country than Biden?
Come on, man.
Home, it's an easy existence. You'll get invited to the cool person Christmas party and, you know, holiday party. I don't want to, you know, they don't celebrate Christmas because because they don't.
Well, I'm a secular Christian, so you know, I celebrate Christmas.
Believe in God, right? The Democrats, their gods are evolving, right? Because, you know, Greta Thunberg is the high priestess of climate change. Fauci is the, you know, the lord of
science.
Science and COVID. And these days it's Vladimir Zelensky, the high priest of Ukraine, which is apparently the number one issue for Republicans across the country. But I've not yet seen that anywhere. It's but those are the people they choose to be their deities, and, you know, and everything follows that path until they burn out, flame out, or, you know, get exposed for what they really are.
All right. So finally, you guys are with me on something. Is Trump going to see a jail cell? Oh, wait, I said the other one. So still, you guys, what is that? 3 or 4 polls that you guys are against me. I think he is going to see that jail cell, guys. They already have it in the works. Clip it. Post it. Come July, he is going to be behind bars.
That path until they burn out, flame out, or, you know, get exposed for what they really are.
How can you run a presidential campaign when you're fighting multiple legal battles?
Good question. Good question. Am says, was it paid in one lump sum or did a combination of legal fees total the 130K? Because that would be telling if it weren't one lump sum. Less believable. I would guess it was one lump sum. Shout out to Ginger Powers over on Instagram. Said he's going to run still in bars. All right, so at least somebody's with me. At least somebody's. I am not putting that past them. I think they are going to do whatever they can, because I do think that it's a think about this that streamer girl who almost let the woman drown. You guys know what I'm talking about? If you, I'll come back to this. If you don't know what I'm talking about, basically it was some, of course it was a kick streamer, some girl who just, does IRL streaming, whatever. You go around and you just annoy people. And there's this one lady, I don't know the story, but it's a fat lady, that couldn't swim. And the streamer girl was trying to get some tracker for some game or something. And it was in like a lake or something. And so, to dive and get it. And so she didn't want to go in, and I don't know how this fat lady came around, but she was there. And then she said she couldn't swim, but she was like, "Oh, was she the fatter lady, right?" And it convinced her to jump in, dive in into the water, and try to track this get this thing. And then she was drowning. She's like, not, and they were like, oh shit. They were like filming, like, oh shit, and then they just ran off. And it's because this streamer girl doesn't see anybody in the real world as an actual person. Everybody is just an NPC, and everybody is just there for the purpose of making me or giving me attention. I see the same thing. I see the same thing. Not individually, everybody who is a Democrat or a Biden voter, but I see overwhelmingly with the more leftist as opposed to lefty, but the leftist mentality is that we, because we don't agree with them, are not even people. We don't even deserve to speak to, I mean, they barely care if we live. Insane. Oh yeah, we did get one. I would get, that's a good question. Let's ask. That I think is gonna, so did Trump pay Stormy Daniels in one lump sum? Just give me the goddamn answer. Did Trump pay? Let me get you the oh, come on. Watch, it's not even going to give me the answer. Jesus Christ. I'm going to. No, Donald Trump did not pay Stormy Daniels in one lump sum. The payment to Stormy Daniels was made in the form of a reimbursement to Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, who initially paid Daniels the $130,000 in October 2016 as a part of a non-disclosure agreement, a legal one. Cohen made the payment to Daniels in one single lump sum, but Trump reimbursed Cohen through monthly installments over time. What was Amber saying? If it wasn't one lump sum, it's less believable. So she got one lump sum, but he didn't, and Cohen admitted to lying under oath. So I mean, you know, so not fully, you know, but that does give him some legal protection. And whether you want to say that, you know, it was smart for him to do that, and he did it on purpose, or you're saying that you believe that Cohen did it and Trump had no idea and he was just being a good lawyer. Either way, the law has not been broken. Ginger Power said, I have no doubt. Oh, he left already. See, you got to get those Instagram people fast. What do you say? I have no doubt he'll get more votes than anyone because of the fact. Yup. Marjorie said, I'm sure they could prove he's paid off many people before and maybe even after office. Yeah, probably. And and then what are the other 33 accounts? Who knows? It doesn't matter. As long as you agree that there was a crime committed. Marcy said fat people should be more buoyant. In theory, well, technically they are more buoyant, but that doesn't mean buoyant. This is, I went on a, I went down a rabbit hole last night, and I was triggered. I always get triggered because I run cold. I'm a tiny dude, and I'm always cold. And people are like, dude, the summer's so much worse. The summer's so much worse because, the summer's so much worse because, like, you could just take off, you could just put on a sweater in the winter, but like in the summer, if you take off your sweatshirt, then you know that's it. But I went through and I did all the criteria I could think of. Like if you're outside in the most extreme temperatures that it was in America versus the most extreme cold temperatures, then I went down to, and it is easier to cool your body down than it is to warm it up. So anybody who says just put on a sweater can fuck off. Hey, look who we got. The Funk Master General with a $10 super chat. Thank you. So very, very much, sir. So Trump likely wants to see the inside of a cell. 20 minutes in there is all he needs. I don't know what that means. 20 minutes is all he needs. Here, let's give that to Maury. Yummy. Thank you, sir. Yeah, what does that mean? 20 minutes for what? 20 minutes for what? Oh yeah, so the bigger lady, the special needs of fire department responded, and they were the streamers were laughing and ran away. So if nobody had called the cops, they would just let her die. And I think that Democrats feel exactly the same way about Trump. Bone 6 said, but Trump goes to jail, then who is the replacement? Whoa, replacement? What you mean replacement? Ain't no replacement here. Ain't no replacement. As long as the man is breathing, he's getting my vote. Bone 6 said, Stormy must just invoice Trump, then it's sorted. If that had happened, then yes, that would have been a much clearer case, but that didn't happen. Fuck you. Or said, I like cold weather. I mean, you can like the cold weather all you want. Just don't act like I'm a bitch because I don't like the cold. Because I'll be out at 120-degree temperature. You'll be like, oh my God, it's so hot. And I'll throw some water in your face and be like, shut up. Well, that's a whole other issue. I'm not going down that road, but I'm just saying the average human, because it got down to I was like, all right, if you're naked outside, and we had determined that extreme cold is more dangerous than extreme heat, so you will die faster in extreme cold, faster than you will die in extreme heat. However, the degree of cold versus the degree of heat that we experience in America, it gets much colder. And so I was like, okay, let's say that there's a perfect comfort temperature and call that base temperature. So if we are 10 degrees hotter, 10 degrees too hot versus 10 degrees too cold, which person is going to have an easier time getting back to base temperature? And of course, it was the person that was 10 degrees too hot. Pour a cup of room temperature water on your head and you're good. All right? That's it. I hate the cold. I live in that. Yeah, I don't know why I still live in Jersey. I don't know why I still live here. It's like I saw a meme started populating maybe like 10 years ago or so, that like, why do I live where the air hurts my face? I was like, why do I live where the air hurts my face? Yeah, it was what, 83, 80 in the mid 80s today. It was a good day. Or said, I'm not built for hot or humid weather. German and Scandinavian blood. I hear you. But different for everybody. And I am always, it's the middle of summer and I'm wearing a hoodie. I mean, I'm not wearing anything under it, but all right, diving back in.
Until they burn out, flame out, or, get exposed for what they really are.
How can you run a presidential campaign when you're fighting multiple legal battles, criminal?
Well, I mean, that's by design, right? I mean, you look at all of these things. They understand. Listen, Joe Biden in a basement is good for Joe Biden's campaign.
Yep.
Because if you put him on a stage, it's a negative, right? He's incapable of getting through a teleprompter. He would get lost at this table.
Yes.
I don't say that as like glibly. It's just,
sad.
It's sad. I feel bad.
I would feel bad if he was just a guy, but he's not just a guy. He is actively trying to ruin our lives. He is actively trying to corrupt the entire governmental system. So I don't really feel bad. Sorry. Does he care that I wasn't feeling well or whatever? Then I'm good. Zippy says in Tennessee we get all the weathers, but the in the trailer keeping temperatures, I don't know what that means. Cold is much easier to, but in the meaning like living in a trailer. Cold is much easier to deal with. No water needed. Unless the cold is like sub-teens, I can sleep nicely with blankets. I mean, I agree. I definitely need to be I put my, so right now the AC is at 70. When I go to sleep, I bring it down to 65. But that also, remember, I live in the loft, so there's no ceiling right here. There's the ceiling for my kitchen where my bedroom is, but then it stops, and then right here it's just the ceiling all the way up. So all that. But yeah, definitely at night you gotta have it nice and cold. But during the day, nah. Yeah, way more people die from the cold weather than the heat. But again, that's because of the degree of cold that it gets, not because the same amount of cold is going to be as dangerous as the same amount of heat. I know it's a little aside, but just sharing.
Glibly, it's sad. I feel bad. He can't get through basic things, and yet he's
but this is the important thing. So yes, it may be easier to warm the trailer, but I'm not talking about the trailer. I'm talking about your body. to warm up your body. You don't need the trailer to be cool for your body to feel cool. Again, you just take a regular cup of room temperature water, pour it on your head, and you will be cool. Remember in 2010, before I moved into my first place, I was spending a lot of time at my boy's house, who he had his own place. It was summer break, and I was on summer break, and so the what I would do, I would bring 2 shirts to his house, and I would soak one in water and then put it in the freezer and wear one, and then I'd just rotate them. No AC, but that it's just easier. Funkmaster General said, "Really? I have to explain?" Apparently, every time they take it up a notch, he gets stronger. If they physically put him in jail, even for 20 minutes, there will be no fence sitters left. Ah, gotcha. I wasn't sure if you're talking about like taking over the prison or like what are we talking about? The 20 minutes part threw me off. But yeah, I mean 1 second he's in there and there'll be no fence sitters left. Agreed. Harley said, so far it doesn't get below 60 here or above 75. Rarely rains, pretty mild. I like that. I do like the changing of the seasons, but I don't like the winter itself. So, I'm thinking, Marjorie's saying South Carolina. I was thinking somewhere like the southwest, because again, I want warm temperatures, recreational cannabis, and I don't need constitutional care, but the ability to get a gun, not while you're smoking weed, but you don't have to pass a drug test or anything. I'm not saying that out loud. He might, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Everybody's been against me. What was the poll? I think 75% of people said no, Trump's not going to see a jail cell. And this, I mean, maybe this is the only reason why that they know that. But I think at this point, they've already done all of the things that are triggering people coming to his defense. Like every time there's something negative that happens to Trump, it's good for his campaign. Oh, really? Yeah. Mercy said, in summer in Virginia, I have a home there. The humidity is outrageous. Can't wait to go home to Bavaria. I couldn't even point that out on a map. Shout out to the Kina. Hell yeah. That's what you want. All right, what are we talking about here?
Yes.
I don't say that as like glibly. It's just, it's sad. I feel bad. He can't get through basic things, and yet he's the leader of the free world, or whoever's pulling the marionette strings. Trump locked in a courtroom for 5 weeks while he should be campaigning. That's really good for them, because he can bring that message to people. People, understand what he's saying. It resonates with them. He's able to bring people over who would not have otherwise been able to, or would have ever voted Republican.
Shout out to Germany.
He's one of the few guys that can do that, sort of expose the left for what it is, expose what we're talking about, break through the noise put out there by the mainstream media, break through the noise and sort of the manipulation of big tech. Those are those are $1 trillion industries that are functioning as the marketing department for today's Democrat Party.
Yep.
And
that's why, even though they'll all talk about how terrible TikTok is and Chinese government and da-da-da-da-da, but both of them are on TikTok. And I think it was this weekend that Trump joined and overnight got like 12 million followers on the Gen Z app, the Zoomer app. And Biden's been on for weeks and he's got like 350,000. I don't think he even cracked 350. But okay. So now I got a general idea. I would have to start zoomed out and be like, okay, I know that's Italy and Germany's over here. Okay, let's zoom in, and then I could find it. But still, I'm an American. All right, I'm American. Leave me alone.
That are functioning as the marketing department for today's Democrat Party, and to be able to single-handedly sort of break some of those walls down. If I felt like if I was in charge of that, if I was in charge of the Democrat side, we'd be winning elections 99.9 to 0.01,
Exactly.
And yet they're still close. I think our messaging is there, and I think
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. If the Democrats are just the nice people and the Republicans are so bad, then why do we have such close elections? Are people we would expect that that whoever's better at lying would, or whoever's worse at lying would get the dumb people, and whoever's whoever's worse at lying would get the dumb people, and whoever's worse at, Jesus Christ, you know what the fuck I mean. We would see a different distribution. We would see a different distribution, but we don't. It's always close. It's always close. But somehow the other side is in a cult. But the rest of the country is, no. Shout out to Kamala. I don't know if this Kamala Harris, but if she's for Donald Trump, I'm with it. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Good to see ya. Good to see ya.
Exactly.
And yet they're still close. I think our messaging is there, and I think it's really important. Perhaps, honestly, the stuff that they've done to my father, our family, perhaps it's the most important thing to happen to America in recent history, in that it's exposed just how bad it is.
I think
you can't hide from it anymore. It's not like, I get it. Like, you come home.
Thank you, Kamala. I hope you're doing well as well. If you could do me a huge favor and hit that like button while you're here, that would be such a helpful thing. Thank you.
From a long day of work, you're trying to feed your family, you're listening to 5 minutes of, Brian Stelter on TV. It's like, well, there's got to be something to it. During the early campaign stuff, if I watch TV to hear about myself, I'm like, man, I hate me too. Yeah. It's so bad.
I missed the opportunity. He said, you listen to Brian Stelter, there's got to be something. And I was going to say, is there though? I don't think so.
People feel it every day. They're not going for it anymore, and I think it's why they're watching you here or me on Rumble or whatever it may be. They're going to other places to hear an alternate viewpoint, because the machine just isn't delivering anymore, and it's so unreal.
But the machine knows that, and the machine exists to perpetuate itself. That's the only point.
So shout out to dual citizenship. There you go. So I care about U.S. politics. When America sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. I like that. Well, I don't like that. I don't like that that's the case. I like that way of putting it. Hey, shout out to my boy, Melted Mind Media. Welcome to the party, buddy. Good to see ya.
But the machine knows that, and the machine exists to perpetuate itself. That's the only point, is to maintain power. These are incompetent people with no other prospects in life other than running the machine. So,
not all of them are incompetent. When I see what tech is doing,
machine running.
When I see what tech is doing, though, you even see it now, because I see, the algorithm. It's like, it'll show me just enough of what I want to see, but never promote anything else. On my Meta platforms, I haven't grown in 3 years, and yet everyone that comes up to me, hey, you got the greatest Instagram I've ever seen. So the people who are already following me.
Now, I don't use Instagram like that, but I cannot imagine that Don Jr. has the greatest Instagram ever. I kind of feel like if you think that Don Jr. has the best Instagram ever, you might need to get a hobby. But I'm talking out of my ass because I haven't seen it. Maybe it is the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Everyone that comes up to me, hey, you got the greatest Instagram I've ever seen. So the people who are already following me will see my stuff, so it appears. It's almost like it's AI designed to let you think you're not being censored, or that you're able to see the stuff that you want.
Oh, I'm aware.
But they're
Okay, Harley, check this out. Boom! Did that work?
preventing that growth. You're well aware of that. So,
yes.
The evolution of that is making it harder. In 16, 17, 18, when I was starting to get censored by, let's call it Twitter 1.0, they're like, well, how do you know you're being censored? I was like, well, because yesterday I got 7,500 retweets on a post. Today I got 3. And it's, I do my own social. When I hit that button, I know what it's going to do. I know when it's, okay, that's a decent post. I know that's hot. That's going to go big. And it's like when it goes big for about 30 seconds, and then it's like, just, you see exactly what they're doing, but they're coming up with better ways to make it appear as though they're not censoring, while.
Oh yeah. Watermelon.
While still, continuing to perpetuate it.
But yes, Mercy, spot on. Boastful, like, well, I know, it's, I'm the greatest. Yeah.
not censoring, while still, continuing to perpetuate and push, the ideals that they espouse and value.
No one interfered in the last election more than Mark Zuckerberg.
Or Google.
Or Sergey Brin. That's exactly right. So, but let me ask you, the
Did that work, Harley?
convictions come down 34 yesterday, and your father goes out there and just basically raises the middle finger and says, we're going to win anyway. And within hours, Benny Thompson of Mississippi, who's a monster, Democratic congressman, says, introduces legislation to pull the Secret Service.
Yeah.
So basically they're saying, okay, we'll kill you now.
Well, they did that a while.
And then, I would like for somebody to steelman the position that trying to send Donald Trump to Rikers Island with no Secret Service is not an attempt to get him killed. I'm not saying it will or won't, but what is the position that the attempt is not to get him killed? I don't, how do you make, what is the argument for that? Who do I want for VP? So I saw like an infographic. They had 4 people that they were looking at. I think they were who are they looking at now? I think it's Tim Scott. I saw Tulsi was still in there. Marco Rubio and somebody else. I to be honest, I don't really care too much. It's just whoever is going to bring in the most vote. It's such a nothing position unless they choose to. And if they let Trump be president, I don't think that it's as likely that they take him out. I think if they're going to take him out, they would do it before he wins. Because I mean it's going to be conspiracy if either of them die. It's going to be, the conspiracies are going to go out the wazoo, but especially if it's after the election and then they take out whoever's in power, So, because I mean, and then we're talking about, the vice president taking the office. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think there's anybody. I don't think there's anybody like if you ask me if we needed somebody to step up and be the president, then I would say Vivek. But because I am not banking on that happening, I would rather see Vivek in other areas where he can do more stuff to keep himself more relevant. And even if he is not a serious candidate in 28, I think if he's out there, he has he has enough rhetoric, he has enough charisma to at least push the conversation in the direction that we want to go. I mean, talking about abolishing all the 3-letter agencies, like, okay, yeah, that's a little wild, but Byron Donaldson, yeah, I'm drawing a blank on the face. Donalds or Donaldson? Donalds or Donaldson? Donalds. There we go. Okay. This guy, really? Where is he from?
It was late, and the road was dark. I looked up, and there were flashing blue lights. As a young man, I was arrested for drug possession and theft. I knew.
I like this guy.
To get my life together. And through the grace of God, I did. I'm Byron Donalds. I was raised in Brooklyn, New York by a single mom with 3 kids, 2 jobs, and not much else. Thanks to my mom and her influence, what could have been the end of my road was just the beginning. Because of her, I'm a proud FSU graduate, happily married businessman with 3 amazing kids. Government didn't get me off the streets. Trust in God did. Love of family, personal responsibility, and hard work.
Yeah, Donalds. You keep saying, y'all are all saying Donaldson.
Today, I'm everything the fake news media tells you doesn't exist. A strong, Trump-supporting, gun-owning, liberty-loving, pro-life, politically incorrect black man. You see, life is what made me this way. And that's why I'm running for Congress. Here in Florida, I fought for conservative education reform, wrestling control away from bureaucrats and empowering parents. When my own party caved to the liberals on your Second Amendment rights, I fought them and will again. I believe in the Constitution, the wall, and that socialism is another name for disaster. Yep. I was incredibly proud to stand with President Trump and work with him to deliver the president's common sense criminal justice reforms. And make no mistake, I will stand with the president against these impeachment radicals who trample our Constitution and paralyze our country with their dangerous lies. The left wants you to think being a Republican means being privileged, racist, and out of touch. Well, I'm not going to let them get away with it. I'm Byron Donalds.
When is this video from?
I'm
Okay, so this is from So we are talking about the same guy, right? You just had the name wrong, or is there a different guy? Oh God, what is this? Oh, Terrence Howard is legitimately insane. Add that to watch later. Maybe we will check that out tomorrow. Shout out. So Rich said those all suck. Vivek and Tulsi are WF young global leaders. What? Tulsi? That's one thing. Really? Vivek? Show your work. I have a bias. I don't want to believe anything negative about the man. I've been saying for the longest time that I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. But I need to see. I need to see something. And but I mean, in terms of Donald, I hadn't really been familiar with him. As the other names that are out there, I'm with him. Yeah, MS69. I don't think you can make the argument that removing Secret Service is not an attempt to get him killed. Oh yeah, I mean, and again, I'd be open to hear it. What is the reason that you find him guilty and he did all of this bad stuff? Why Rikers? Why no Secret Service? Make that make sense. Buckmaster General said Byron Donalds is a better choice than all of them, even Vivek. I mean, just based on the messaging there. As far as VP, I think Vivek would want to be, again, more front-facing, which I think works for him, is good for him. But this guy seems a little bit more in line with, but again, I think I want somebody who is more establishment as a VP, because but do we even need those votes? That's where my head is at, is winning the election. Again, what are they talking about? That the left plays this like a game, and the people on the right are not playing that game. And because we're not playing that game, we're losing. And so my head is at who is going to be the best person to help Trump win. But then again, if we don't need those votes, then I definitely don't want that. And if we think that it's possible that they're going to take him out, then and that whoever's VP might legitimately be president, obviously that could always happen. But that's a tough one. But I mean, based on just what I've seen there, I would be okay with Byron. Obviously, that's the first I've heard of him, but saying the right things. And says more important than you think. The Senate leader will matter, especially now that Dems lost another party member. Okay, that's solid point. Vivek is not. They keep saying that, but clearly don't update themselves. That's what I'm saying. I feel like somebody directly asked him about this too, right? Let's see. Nope, wrong one. Vivek Ramaswamy, WEF. Let's see what that brings. All right, let's go in the he sued the World Economic Forum. All right, well,
on August 1st, Fox News reported that you settled a lawsuit with the World Economic Forum after they failed to remove your name from its 2021 list of young global leaders, even though you declined the nomination. Why did your name continue to appear on World Economic Forum Young Global Leaders list? And what are your ties to the organization, if any?
Oh, so the ties to the organization are none. My only link was actually being the chief critic of their agenda. So everybody in this room might not even know what we're talking about.
That's right. He got a Soros scholarship to go to college, right? I mean, scholarship that we have young leaders. Probably his name ended up on one of the lists of people to watch. He sued them to remove his name from their ranks. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, but I don't know what. It's something in the air. It's something in the air. I can't talk. Y'all can't spell. It's all right. We are making it through. We are making it through. Shout out to our boy Indie Film. Welcome to the party. Where the hell were you guys when David was taking me to task? I need y'all to back me up, and I'm out here on my own. I'm not a smart guy. David's very intelligent. That doesn't mean he's right, but he is very smart. Mercy said Manchin will still vote with the Dems, even though he switched to independent. So the majority is still theirs in practice. People retiring too. It's a crapshoot. Yeah, that does. You did spell tonight wrong, but good enough. Yeah. I haven't. So yeah, I'm not going to be able to think about this on the fly and give you an answer right now. Shout out to OTS Juice over on Kick. Said vote Robert Kennedy. Vote Biden if you're gay. I mean, I'm MAGA, but I ain't mad at it. I ain't mad at it. Shout out to OTS Juice. Welcome to the party. I just realized that I had, not just now, but when I was making the stream, I'd realized that I on Kick I had the genre or whatever, some weird thing, and I changed it. So hopefully we get some new people. OTS Juice, get some more people up in here on Kick, bruh. Look up Tommy G new video. Who the hell is Tommy G? Mercy said Vivek sued them, but that doesn't change the fact that he has globalist aspirations. It's not just politically expedient for him to espouse the worldview. What are his globalist aspirations? I was like, we are in the what the fuck phase of the week. Definitely showed out while driving for only 10 minutes. All right, yeah, let's see what's good.
Being the chief critic of their agenda. So everybody in this room might not even know what we're talking about. There's an organization called the World Economic Forum. They stand for a vision of the world called the Great Reset. What is the Great Reset? It's a different vision of how we're all supposed to live. It says that we have to dissolve the boundaries between the public sector and the private sector, between governments and companies.
Yeah, who was that? That was like last week or like 2 weeks ago, right? Oh, God damn it. Democrats switches parties. Where the recent this week? Was it last week? Was it no, not mentioned. It was somebody else. Who? That's not how you spell who. Who were the Democrat politicians that switched parties this year? Okay, so okay, there's wow, all right, so 4. So we had Trisha Cotham from North Carolina, Elliot Pritt from West Virginia. So I desire to effectively represent. Oh, that was this the guy that no, that wasn't him anyway. Misha Maynard and Francis Thompson. I think this is who I was thinking of, but I could be wrong, as I often am. What? Okay, definitely not. I said this year. Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson? Is that him? Sorry, no, I'm a little slower today. I apologize, guys. I don't know who it was. There was somebody. There was somebody last week. They were just talking about it. No, not Bob Menendez. I would know, but if it was Bob Menendez, he was Jersey. I mean, I'll double check. I don't think it was. Enjoyed a steakhouse. Testify. FBI testifies. See, I don't think it was him. I don't know. But people are a switching. People are a switching. We got Mercy said being a WF young global leader is not a one-way street. It requires participation and grooming. He wouldn't have been on the list if he wasn't at least at some point fully on board with the globalist agenda. He got a scholarship. That's it. That's the only connection. That's why he sued them. Oh wait, did I X that out? Of course I did. Of course I did. No, that's not what I want to do.
Between nations to be able to between governments and companies, between nations to be able to now work towards what they call the global common good. I'm against this. I am a citizen, not of some global citizen. I am a citizen of this nation, the United States of America. I'm proud of that. That is true. That means something to me. And on this side of the pond in 1776, we said that we, the people, determine how we sort out our differences, where every person's voice and vote counts equally. In the old world Europe, it was the other way. It had to be a small group of elites in the back of palace halls in Old England that decided what was right for the rest of society at large. In this country, we said no to that vision. We, the people, decide our own destiny as citizens of a nation. So that old world view, though, it's starting to rear its head again in recent years in the form of this World Economic. They decided to name a lot of young billionaires. Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, others have been named on their list. So funny thing, global elites, including for racial injustice.
Okay.
It has to be settled by a class of global elites, including large billionaires. It's part of why they decided to name a lot of young billionaires. Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, others have been named on their list. So funny thing happens. I wrote my first book, Woke Inc. It was a criticism of this agenda. Every one of my books has, especially Capitalist Punishment, has gone into detail exposing some of the corruption in this worldview. I went on to start a company, Strive, to push against the ESG agenda. That's the manifestation of the Great Reset in our capital markets. And then a curious thing happens. A guy who's affiliated with the World Economic Forum reaches out and says, hey, we're going to give you an award. You're going to be named on our list of young global leaders with all this long list of billionaires. And Ibram Kendi was going to be on that list. And there's a guy I've been very critical of. So I said, no, I don't think this is going to be a good fit for me. I disagree with you all. If you want to have a debate, I'll debate anybody. But I'm not a good fit for your list. I decline the award. A few months later, my name shows up on the list anyway. It's interesting. I get a bunch of text messages from people. Congratulations. So I'm a little confused. I said, wait a minute. I told you guys not to add me to this list. I said, oh, sorry. We'll take it off. Years later, it keeps popping up. A couple of years later. So people start asking, wait, why is your name on this list? So you know what I did? I don't believe in standing by. And there are other good allies like Glenn Beck, Elon Musk, others who have also been opponents of their agenda who have been named. But I believe in taking action. I believe in accountability. So I sued him. I sued him in court. And I'll tell you a little bit later in a lawsuit that I filed just earlier this week against the Department of Justice. I don't believe in just being a passive bystander. I believe in accountability. So I sued him and we got everything that we demanded, including, most importantly, a commitment that this organization would never again defang or try to undermine its opponents by ensnaring them on their own list. And so I'm happy to say that we're not going to let anybody else off the hook. If Klaus Schwab tried to put me on his list, he ended up on my list, and that's how we roll.
That's how you do the damn thing. So Marjorie saying it was posted on June 3rd. Bob Menendez has filed to run as an independent candidate for re-election. Yeah, that's going independent. There was somebody. I again, I can't think who it was, but maybe am I mixing two things up? It's not him. Because I know him, what he looks like. There's somebody else. I don't know. Oh, why did I do that? God damn it. Hold on. Ay. There we go. Hopefully it'll bring us right back to where we were.
Put out there by what it is, expose what we're talking about, break through the noise put out there by the mainstream media, break through the noise and sort of the manipulation of big tech. Those are those are $1 trillion industries that are functioning as the marketing department for today's Democrat Party, and to be able to single-handedly.
Right. I'm interested in this, but I do want to see. So let's see. Let's do Vivek Ramaswamy WF Summit. God. 1 year, 7 months, 10 months, 1 year. Somebody get me a link. I'm gonna watch it. I don't want to stop the whole show here, but like again, we got 2003 town hall.
And hello, I'm Vivek. And
It's lost video of an 18-year-old Vivek Ramaswamy at a presidential town hall from 20 years ago.
And I want to ask you,
In the newly unearthed video, listen as he asks the presidential candidate Reverend Al Sharpton about the very thing Ramaswamy is currently accused of, lacking political experience.
and my question for you is, of all the Democratic candidates out there, why should I vote for the one with the least political experience?
Well, you shouldn't, because I have the most political experience.
At the time, Ramaswamy was a freshman at Harvard University. But during last week's Republican presidential debate, the tables were turned, and it was now the 38-year-old tech entrepreneur who found himself on the hot seat for lacking political experience.
Yeah, so I mean, that's why, and I was looking because of the fact that he was so popular, and there seemed to be nothing. There seemed to be nothing about him that people didn't, or a legitimate reason that people didn't like. It was just that he was brown and he was Hindu. And so, the stuff here, unless it has been deeply, deeply buried, I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. But like I said, get me a link, we'll watch it.
And sort of the put out there by the mainstream media, break through the noise and sort of the
what do they say? If you're not a liberal when you're young, you have no heart, and if you don't get more conservative as you get older, you have no brain.
manipulation of big tech. Those are, and those are $1 trillion industries that are functioning as the marketing department for today's Democrat Party. And, to be able to single-handedly sort of break some of those walls down, if I felt like if I was in charge of that, if I was in charge of the Democrat side, we'd be winning elections 99.9 to 0.01,
Exactly.
and yet they're still close. I think our messaging is there, and I think it's really important. Perhaps, honestly, the stuff that they've done to my father, our family, perhaps it's the most important thing to happen to America in recent history, in that it's exposed just how bad it is.
I think
you
that's
can't
exactly
hide.
And it's not any worse now than it was 50 years ago. Maybe I don't know about 80 years ago. They say that who was it? Roosevelt was like the archetype for the modern politician. But even back then, we're living in a different world. So let's say, who was before Carter? I forget who was, but going back, like let's say around the JFK era in the 60s, and then we obviously saw what happened there. So it was setting up before that. So let's just say 1955. Let's just pick a year. Since 1955, it's not that they weren't doing all this stuff. It's just that we didn't have TV. We didn't have social media, and it was very, very easy to lie about this stuff. And so the trust in the institutions were there because we didn't know any better. Morty, just lay down. You keep going back and forth, bud. Please, just lay down. And Ford, right? Yeah, that was Nixon, Ford, and Carter, right? Yeah, so that era, that's when we really saw that, like, oh, okay, like, it's not that these are good people. And I mean, again, I wasn't there. I don't know how much people usually trusted politicians before TV and stuff, but I'm saying now we just live in a different world. But it hasn't changed that much. We're just learning more about it.
From it anymore. It's not like, I get it. Like, you come home from a long day of work, you're trying to feed your family, you're listening to 5 minutes of, Brian Stelter on TV. It's like, well, there's got to be something to it. During the early campaigns.
Is there though? Caught it this time.
Stuff. If I watch TV to hear about myself, I'm like, man, I hate me too.
Yeah.
It's so bad. People feel it every day. They're not going for it anymore, and I think it's why they're watching you here or me on Rumble or whatever it may be. They're going to other places to hear an alternate viewpoint because.
Yeah, and Bonsig said they need term limits. Yeah, these people in politics are truly out of touch, and I don't even blame them for being out of touch. Like, you sit in your ivory tower. What else are you gonna think? But it's show this is we in the whole Gen X versus the boomers versus the millennials, in that whole conversation, the most common thing I saw when it came to specifically politics is that it's just that Gen X is the smallest generation, and so when the boomers are in power, then there's just not enough people to replace them. And so, now that we are getting to a place where millennials are of that age, obviously millennials have been adults for a long time, but when you're 21 years old, you don't know shit about shit. Now that millennials are getting to that age, and millennials do have that connective tissue to the Zoomers, who are very active and who are not burnt out, and who have the numbers, and who have the establishment behind them. There is an opportunity here to finally create the circumstances where the term limits may not necessarily need to exist because of the natural rotation of, okay, well, you're old and this guy's new and better. That is definitely why shout out to Amber. What do we got here? That's it. That's it. This one.
I was going to reorganize the government. I was going to cut down on the bureaucrats. I was going to return more power to the states and the people. I was going to shape up the place. They knew that.
How much was there that pristine devotion to finding out what the president knew and when he knew it? How much was partisan determination that it had gone too far and they had to get rid of you or otherwise they would suffer?
It was a combination of both. Let me say, I realize that there were some in the media and some in the Congress who felt that for a variety of reasons, because they had disagreed with me in Vietnam, because they thought I was too strong in terms of what I was going to do in the second term, that they felt that it was very important to get me out of there. Let me make it clear as to why they were concerned. I had not held any punches back. I made it clear after the election that with the war out of the way, having run...
Very Trumpian. I was just too good. I was the best they ever seen and they couldn't fucking handle it.
Having won by 62%, I had a mandate. I was going to reorganize the government. I was going to cut down on the bureaucrats. I was going to return more power to the states and the people. I was going to shape up the place. They knew that. The media knew it. The bureaucracy knew it. The elitists knew it. The establishment knew it.
Something else Trumpian about Nixon, that he was outrageously popular until he wasn't. And I do think that we're going to see a hard drop off from specifically supporting Trump. Once he's no longer eligible to be that figurehead, I think, I'm not the only one who is going to express like, good, thank you for everything that you did. But that came with the negative side of a destroying discourse. So now, we appreciate what you did, but now you need to get the fuck out of the way so we can get back on track of actually talking to each other. It's not like there's, not politicking here, but this is a different era. But that's what I was saying. This is the same level of bullshit that you would get from Trump or Biden or Obama or any of those. It's just that you only had the TV spots or you listened to them on the radio. You didn't have the degree of scrutiny that they see now. I mean, if it wasn't for Forrest Gump, would we even know about Watergate? That's a joke.
The media knew it. The bureaucracy knew it. The elitists knew it. The establishment knew it. They didn't like it. And so under the circumstances, I can understand why, whatever their devotion to being honorable and so forth are concerned, those partisan instincts might prevail. But in fairness, of course, there were some who weren't partisan at all. They just thought I should be out because they thought I should never have been in.
But if you had to guess a percentage of people who were in it for the partisan advantage or because they felt they had to get rid of you in order to justify themselves, as opposed to the people who genuinely thought it was an appalling thing and that you should be removed because of it, what would be the percentage in the media and the Congress?
I'm assuming this is post-Watergate? Is that what they're talking about?
Congress.
I would say that in just lumping them all together, that in the media, it was perhaps
The Richard Nixon Foundation applies the legacy of vision of President Nixon. Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm going to assume.
about 75%. They just
Partisan.
welcomed the opportunity to get me out of there. About 25% who felt had this pristine motive that you referred to. In the Congress, perhaps 50-50.
Interesting. So that is very very Trumpian. Yeah, Bonzig saying there needs to be an age limit too. Again, I don't know if that's ideal because there are too many. Like if we have somebody that we like, then I think the age thing it should be self-correcting. Like the fact that we have 2 octogenarians right now is not a common thing. And so that usually should be just a self-correcting thing. I don't know. Maybe 70, definitely not 80. But not 80. I don't know. Any film said, do you really think the left won't lie, demonize, or use lawfare against whoever comes after Trump? The left will never stop until they've destroyed anyone in their way. Absolutely. But the rhetoric of you're in a cult and it's just about Trump and Trump is this and Trump is that and Trump is that and putting us on the back foot to have to be defending Trump, who we also have our issues with, will be over. They'll absolutely use that against whoever comes up next. But whoever comes up next doesn't come with the baggage that Trump does. That is huge. And when people see that MAGA still exists without Trump as a possibility, that is going to, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be some great awakening, but there are people who are going to be intelligent enough that right now they believe that it's about Trump and a cult-like adherence to Trump. When we all know that it's just that he's just a symptom. He is the manifestation of everything that is wrong with the Democratic establishment, including the Uniparty and the GOP and all of that shit. So yes, they will try, but it'll be a lot harder. That I'm for. Okay, let's say once you turn 65, then you need to take a cognitive function test. Middle ground. Fair. There we go.
Whatever it may be, they're going to other places to hear an alternate viewpoint because, the machine.
Oh, guys, we got 15 people in here and only 11 likes. Please just tap it. Tap it real good. If you're on your phone, I think you can just long press. Otherwise, there's the 3 dots right up here. Yeah, that would help me out. Thank you.
They're going to other places to hear an alternate viewpoint because, the machine just isn't delivering anymore, and it's so unreal.
But the machine knows that, and the machine exists to perpetuate itself. That's the only point, is to maintain power. Mm-hmm. These are incompetent people with no other prospects in life other than running a machine. So,
not all of them are incompetent. When I see what tech is doing,
machine running. Yeah.
When I see what tech is doing, though, you even see it now because I see, the algorithm. It's like it'll show me just enough of what I want to see, but never promote anything else. And my Meta platforms. I haven't grown in 3 years, and yet everyone that comes up to me, hey, you got the greatest Instagram I've ever seen. So the people who are already following me will see my stuff. So it appears it's almost like it's AI designed to let you think you're not being censored, or that you're able to see the stuff that you want.
Oh, I'm aware.
But they're preventing that growth. You're well aware of that. So
yes.
The evolution of that is making it harder. In 16, 17, 18, when I was starting to get censored by, let's call it Twitter 1.0, they're like, well, how do you know you're being censored? I was like, well, because yesterday I got 7,500 retweets on a post. Today I got 3. And it's, like I do my own social. When I hit that button, I know what it's going to do.
As a mercy, I feel like the media, both the mainstream media and social media, are responsible for most of the polarization. I agree with you, but I think it is more about the introduction of this level of communication and scrutiny. So I think as humanity gets more not comfortable, more familiar with the world operating this way, and the changes that happen are not so fundamental to how we see the world now that we have the internet and we have a video and we have all this stuff, then the level of scrutiny is not likely to go down. And so over that time, now that we are getting used to that much information, hopefully we should be better able to navigate. I think it's more the introduction of social media along with the legacy media bullshit that really has torn us apart. I said over 40. Yo, 40 you and I mean, okay. I'm you trying to trigger me. Any film said, what actual baggage did Trump have? They're painting Romney as everything in the book, but Trump leaned into it. So they think that he is, I mean, you see TDS. What do you mean? What actual baggage? TDS is big baggage. That's a lot. That's a lot of baggage.
I know when it's, again, that's a decent post. I know that's hot.
Yeah, I feel like how did we get here again? I feel like we've been watching a lot, and he didn't say it again, did he?
That's going to go big. And it's like when it goes big for about 30 seconds, and then it's like, just, you see exactly what they're doing, but they're coming up with better ways to make it appear as though they're not censoring, while still, continuing to perpetuate and push, the ideals that they espouse and value.
No one interfered in the last election more than Mark Zuckerberg.
Facts.
Or Google.
Or Sergey Brin. That's exactly right. So, but let me ask you, the convictions come down 34 yesterday, and
I mean, when we say Google and Facebook, we really have to put that on the FBI and the CIA, right? Like, sure, they were involved, but they wouldn't have done that without the pressure from the government. So I think that bears pointing out.
Let me ask you, the convictions come down 34 yesterday, and your father goes out there and just basically raises the middle finger and says, we're going to win anyway. And within hours, Benny Thompson of Mississippi, who's a monster, Democratic congressman, says, introduces legislation to pull a Secret Service. Yeah. So basically they're saying, okay, we'll kill you now.
Well, they did that a while ago also. If he goes to prison, we want to pull his Secret Service. So basically, if we put him in a cell, we're going to put him in a place where he could be murdered.
But that's a death threat.
Of course it is. But
from a member of Congress.
Yep.
Again, should it surprise us? I mean,
no. We saw during the Summer of Love who was trying to say that it was right-wing semantic obfuscation to call the summer of 2020 the Summer of Love. That's not what that means. That's not what that means. That was a reference to the fact that it's so crazy that it is irony to call it the Summer of Love. People don't. I don't know. I don't know, guys. I don't know.
Threat. Of course it is, but
from a member of Congress.
Again.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, like Maxine Waters, all of them. Well, we need to go harder. We need to do more.
Should it surprise us? I mean, you look at half the congressmen, get in their faces, make them feel it. I mean, They can say these things and they are lauded as heroes. If we said something even remotely like that, we're literally inciting violence. I mean, those words are violence, Tucker. We've seen this. The double standard that's out there. I mean,
but how hard is it for you?
Congresswoman after Congresswoman, you have a Hamas caucus, in Congress calling for, the death of people in the Middle East. It's, well, that's okay. You can't do that. If we did something similar, we'd be blocked. We'd be off of every platform. We'd be canceled. And, again, different games. We're playing two very, very different games.
But that's so threatening. Tony Fauci he doesn't even work for the government. He's got Secret Service protection. He walks in the dog park in Washington, D.C. I happen to know for a fact because it's my dog park, former dog park. And he's got, 3 guys following him, but they want to pull it from your dad.
Yeah. Well, look at what they...
Guys, we are we're just past halfway done. We definitely can get through this whole thing, but we are coming up on the 2.5 hour mark. If you would like to keep the party raging, you know how to do it.
With some of the justices, the Supreme Court justices, right? I mean, you think that they'd be able to do what they've done to even, Alito, even this week, we're going to make him recuse himself because his wife hung a flag upside down. I was like, well, she can't express an opinion. What they've tried to do to Clarence Thomas, what they did as it relates to Gorsuch and others, it's insanity. If they did that to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, if they were picketing in front of their house like they did Amy Coney Barrett, that would be a serious problem. Those people would go to jail.
Of course.
Yeah, because it's illegal. Well, as long as it's the wrong party. Hey, look what we got. Go on, Tech. Welcome to the party, brother. Good to see ya. Good to see ya. Mercy said Obama got rid of that law when he got into office that ostensibly protected the American people from being subjected to propaganda by the press. It kept the press more honest. You could feel the shift. So you mean before the law, it wasn't as that the full court press. Pun intended. Yep, makes sense. I mean, again, I wasn't paying attention to that, but it definitely makes sense.
Their house, like they did Amy Coney Barrett, that would be a serious problem. Those people would go to jail,
Of course.
But we'll let if that's the conservative justice, we'll let them suffer a little bit. We'll make sure it, but it's effective, because then you see some of them, and some of them are a little weaker than perhaps their principles, and they're man, it's a little bit. Maybe I got to go a little light on this one because it's not worth the headache. I mean,
when the Democratic Party's militia shows up outside your house, it's happened to me.
Yeah.
People are intimidated by that.
Of course, and we see it, across the board. It's designed, the Hunter Biden laptop. That's Russian disinformation. Here's 52 intelligence officers signing off on it. Oh, is it though?
Oh no, that's real, baby.
It must be. 4 years later. Oh no, it's actually his laptop. There's no accountability for that either. But they're like, well, no, we're admitting it now. It's like, no, but you got exactly what you wanted at the time. We understand there's no accountability for it. That's election interference as much as anything else. Also,
yep. And again, I don't know how people in good faith argue like they're trying to be good faith. Well, no. They really thought that it was Russian disinformation. Like, why would you think that? It doesn't matter. Even if you want to make the argument that they thought it was the wrong thing or whatever, after the fact, you still interfered in an election.
There was a stat, I think it was 17% of people said had they known about the Hunter Biden laptop, it would have changed their vote in 2020. I mean, 17%. That's a lot of votes. And yet, that was the gospel. And if you said anything about it, we've had the conversation about,
And who wants to, okay, let's make a poll of I don't even remember. It was just the possession charges, right? Will Hunter be found guilty? I mean, I don't really think that has any bearing on Trump or anything, but I'm just curious what y'all think.
And yet, that was the gospel. And if you said anything about it, we've had the conversation about, Wuhan lab leak theory. No. Of course, it didn't come from the lab that studies the virus in question that we fund. I think it came from the wet market 3 feet outside of the lab. And if you believe otherwise, we're going to pull your funding. If you're a doctor, you'll lose tenure. If you're at a university, you won't. Fauci's going to not sign off on your grants anymore. Mm-hmm. And even if you're like, but you don't have to be a scientist. They're like, Don, how would you know? You're not a virologist. It's like, you don't have to be a virologist to know that it happened there. You just have to not be an imbecile.
And that was and as soon as one of them, one of the accepted people said a thing that was that alluded to it, as soon as Jon Stewart went, oh, well, I wonder it came from a lab, then automatically the lab leak theory is perfectly okay. Because, I mean, they're not going to cancel Jon Stewart, obviously. Insane. Emerson, I can't remember what that creep's being charged with. Yeah, it's got the gun charges. So when I mean, I don't remember specifically, but it was connected to that he had drugs, the laptop, and the gun. If I'm not, I'm not really sure either. Let me not talk shit. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. Bonze, I say yes, but not to jail. If he goes, then Trump will go. Just saying, bro. I feel like they are the general whoever they is. They are very willing to throw Hunter under the bus to make it seem fair, so that everybody see they threw Hunter Biden in jail, so it's all totally fair. Mercy said Hunter lied about his drug use on his college application. I don't know what that means. Illegal gun possession. Thank you. You don't have to be a virologist to know that it happened there. You just have to not be an imbecile.
You can have mid, double-digit IQ and be like, of course it came from the place that studies the exact virus in question that was at ground zero of where it released, and not from 4 feet outside of that. It's insane. And yet, think of the truly intelligent people in positions of power in medicine and otherwise who went along with this blindly because, it was easier to do. And, there was a lot of money and, it's not
Kind of hard
pass up on
to
those
do
things.
that now, though. I mean, everything that's happened.
This isn't all that long ago. I mean,
right. But at this point,
And he obviously did that. But 50% of you, how many votes? That's only, we only got 4 votes. Come on, hit that poll, motherfuckers. What you doing?
I do think at this point, if you're still telling yourself those lies, you are lying to yourself. You are a liar.
but it doesn't matter. They correct it years later, but they got what they needed out of the ruse.
Right.
Right. They got what they needed. And again, because there's no accountability after the fact, it doesn't matter. They'll do it again. And they'll make it the gospel for 6 months. Or, always said, the difference between the truth and the conspiracy theory is 6 months.
Yeah.
Now it's like 6 minutes, but they'll still get what they want out of that 6 minutes. Use it to manipulate whatever they need to. And, I don't see that stopping. I see more people being awake to it, right? That 6 months moved to 6 minutes because people are not just blindly buying the BS anymore.
So how does it play out from here over the next 5 months? I mean,
That's the big question. How does it play out here for the next 5 months? I think it really depends on how hard they're willing to go on Trump. That's the core of it all.
they tried to put him in prison. They're still. Do you think he?
So we got to overwhelm the margin of fraud.
So it's just to ask. It's July 11th is sentencing.
July 11th.
So yet today, on June 5th, days ago, I've already heard about sending him to Rikers and getting rid of his Secret Service as verified by them just talking about it right now. Why? Why is that a thing that I know? Why is that a thing that I know? That should not be something that has even been decided. I mean, not directly tied to Trump, but we are there. Indeed, we are.
So it's just to ask. It's July 11th is sentencing.
July 11th.
So
yeah. By the way, you think that's a coincidence? That's 4 days before the Republican National Convention. Do you think that's a coincidental timing, or do you think that's designed to throw a wrench into that? I mean,
no, of course. I mean, they have a trial and then you do sentencing. That's how it works for everybody. Nobody's being treated unfairly. Stop crying.
Yet another coincidence, right?
But what happens if can they remand him and put him in jail then?
I imagine they will try, right? I mean,
why wouldn't they?
Yeah, of course.
They can.
Does anyone think? And again,
that's too far.
That's too far. It's nothing's too far. And again, until it
we're already past too far. Too far was 10 miles back that way.
Happens. Everyone, we have to stop giving them the benefit of the doubt, thinking they're going to act above board. This is an arm's length transaction. No, it's not. Like, what are you talking about? There's not a single aspect of this case that should stand in any court. But where do you appeal right now? To the New York Appellate Division, which is just as radical. And it's not just this case.
But I mean, anything can be appealed up to the Supreme Court, can it not? And I think the appellate courts and whatever. Is that the case? Is it any case that can be brought to the Supreme Court? What are the parameters? What are the parameters to get a case in front of the Supreme Court? Well, we go jurisdiction. So the case must involve a significant question of federal law. The parties involved must have standing, ripeness, and mootness. Case must be ripe for review, meaning all lower courts have been exhausted. All right. So original jurisdiction, appellate jurisdiction. Most cases reach the Supreme Court through appellate jurisdiction. Writ of whatever that is. Most common route where a party petitions to the court to review a lower court's decision. At least 4 of the 9 justices must agree to grant the writ. Appeal from state Supreme Court. So that's what we'll be looking about. So this cases from the state Supreme can be appealed to the and then the final one here, cases from the U.S. Court of Appeals are often reviewed by the Supreme Court. So as long as at least 4 justices vote to hear it, then anything can go up. Anything can go up to the Supreme Court. And the process is long, but him being guilty doesn't prevent him from being the president. So we got all the time in the world, baby. We got all the time in the world.
The New York Appellate Division, which is just as radical, and it's not just this case. You look at all the shade, all the craziness around Fannie Willis, right? That case. You look at Jack Smith and the FBI doctoring documents and setting up staging photos and then leaking it to the Washington Post. The classified documents that end up on the front page of the Washington Post. That's fine.
Convenient.
Each one of these things wouldn't stand. If we did this to, meaning conservatives, some sort of Republican did this to Obama, it would never end. It
wouldn't go anywhere. It wouldn't be a thing. And I guarantee you somebody did try to do it to Obama. And it just didn't go anywhere. Because that's not how we do things in America.
A perpetual story, and rightfully so. And yet, like, hey, as long as it's against a conservative, as long as it's against Trump, who's up against that machine, we're going to allow these things to happen. It's not like one of these things doesn't have any serious hair on it, right? They're all.
Yeah, there's nothing that will stop me. I mean, if when they were first talking about the trial, I was like, well, if they take him off, then I'm writing in Vivek. But nah, bro. Ain't nothing stopping me from voting for Trump this election. Nothing.
All shady as hell. And yet it doesn't matter. And our mainstream media almost refuses to cover it. They won't talk about these things.
Conveniently not televised.
My father, in many cases, is gagged. I mean, think about that. I mean, First Amendment is kind of the First Amendment, right? It's a big.
That's a good point. Good point.
One for us.
But, how far did that go?
The former president of the United States is not allowed to talk about the facts of the case because, if people actually heard that from him, they'd realize just how much, BS is in all of these things. That should trouble a lot of people. You think it stops with Trump? Like, I mean, think about that. I mean, if they can do it to arguably one of the most, out there, most powerful people in the world,
they can do it to you. What do you guys think about that line of rhetoric? Because they use that a lot. And I don't personally feel like there's anything wrong with it. There's it's specifically somebody who is popular but not in their club won one of their things. The only what is different in the context of politics? What is different from a Trump or just your average citizen? Yeah, he's rich. Yeah, he's famous. Yeah, he's got this. But in terms of the politics, how is it not true to say if they can go after me, they can go after you? How is that just a bullshit line? Because that's what all the liberals it's fear corn. I don't understand how that's like. No, that's just stating facts that should scare you.
Out there, most powerful people in the world, a bank account to be able to fight, a base to push it, venues to be a soapbox to speak from. If they can do it to him, who can't they do it to? But more importantly, if they will so flagrantly and so corruptly do it to him,
why would they not go even harder on you? Ain't nobody give a fuck about you. Ain't nobody give a fuck about you. You think you're going to be a national news story if they did this to you? You think I would be a national news story? No, they don't give a fuck.
Who won't they do it to? That's the question we have to be asking. I mean, is anyone safe? And it's like COVID. People going blindly along. No, it's going to be different this time. I'm like, really? Like that's what you've got out of this?
Is it No.
But if they put the Republican candidate who was leading in the polls, all things equal, he becomes president again in November. If they put him in jail right before the Republican convention,
that was them. I was like, are they coming for me? That was them.
Right before the Republican convention on fake charges stemming from a rigged trial, they're kind of pushing violence, aren't they?
Yeah.
How do they expect people to respond to that? Nothing like that has ever happened.
In the reality, you have to be careful.
Civil war.
Even how you talk about that.
No,
right?
they are pushing. Violence.
They
want.
They clearly
violence.
are. But again, nothing.
But you can't say that because if you say that they're pushing violence, even though they are pushing violence, you saying that they're pushing violence is more violent than the violence.
Should surprise us, right? The star witness of this case is someone who lied before every branch of Congress, was disbarred, lied to banks, lied to wives, lied to the press, but we're expected to believe that he actually told the truth in this one instance, right? That's That's who they hang their hat on because it doesn't matter. When it's rigged the way it is,
freaks me out.
It doesn't matter.
We're moving toward something ugly, and I don't want that.
I said, shit, me neither.
No one does. But they're not going to let it play out. I mean, do you think they'll ever take their foot off the gas? Like, no, it's not.
And again, we are in disagreement. 62% of you say yes, Hunter will be found guilty, and I don't know. I don't think so. The only caveat there is the rhetorical thing of, see, it's fair, they went after Hunter Biden. But I don't think they care. I don't think they care enough. They don't need that. They already have everyone believing that Trump is such a horrible person, that these crimes are legitimate. They don't need to counterbalance that. They're saying this is the justice system. Justice has been served. Has it though? What's the last thing here? All right. Well, we'll let it ride through.
Gotten away with it for years.
How should people respond, do you think?
I think, honestly, the reality is everyone has to get involved.
Yeah.
And again, there's both sides. I mean, you have to have, people, running for office. And I'm not talking about president or Congress, or run for your school boards. I mean, that's perhaps the thing that's most important to me. Like, frankly, there's a component of me that I don't want to win the presidency if we don't have Congress and the Senate, because I'll probably be up on charges again, and we'll get to go through impeachment, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, for the next 4 years. And I don't think that's a great place to be. But I think, apathy has caused us a lot of problems, especially on the conservative side. Hey, we run businesses and we do these sorts of things, and we want to spend time with our families, and all noble things and important, but we have to take the initiative to get involved at every level of these things, because the left has taken over every major institution in our country that controls. I mean, what they've done in education, manipulating our children, what they've done in entertainment, oftentimes the same thing. It can't stand if we actually want to have a future. Our kids, they graduate out, there's high schools with higher districts, no one can read or do math, but they know the 4,376 genders.
Yay! Education. If they're going after former presidents, what about Bill Clinton? What about all of them? That's been my issue since the beginning of this. Like, all right, fine. If we want to say we're going after former presidents, we need to go after all of them. There is a reason. That is a thing, whatever you want to call it, the mode of decorum, whatever the fuck you want to say. There's a reason. We don't want our commander in chief worried about what's going on to Trump right now, when he's got his fingers hovering over the nuclear button, and if I do this, it could save the world, but if it also could get me in a lot of trouble. So you know what? I'm gonna play it safe. And that's done. That's the world we live in now. And that's why even if you hate Trump and you think that he's super guilty, when Harry Sisson, that TikTok Zoomer Biden dick sucker, this is a great day for America. No, motherfucker. This is a terrible day. And the fact that you think it's good, again, shows that you are just playing a game. And you think you just scored points. The short-term thinking. Oh, well, Biden has a better chance of winning now. But every president from now on can be prosecuted. That's not a good thing.
And I imagine since this interview started, there's probably another 15 that I haven't included that, so I don't want to be labeled as,
Yeah, guys, the after party is open already. I see Guan tag in there. If you are a disciple, make sure you join, because if the show's over and I finish everything, I don't see anybody, I'm just going to go to bed.
Whatever, a gender bigot by not including them, but that's the last I've been able to keep track of.
Hey, we got our boy Kelly Green in the building. Welcome to the party. Coming in late, but better late than never. Glad to see you, dude. Mercy said a dangerous precedent for them to set. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Exactly. Do you think that we couldn't have brought Obama up on charges? What? He killed an American citizen. I bet at least 3 of you can put his name in the chat right now. I bet at least 3 of you can. I have the faith that we'll pause this. We'll play this. I bet you at least 3 of you know by heart this Muslim name because of how significant an American citizen targeted, bombed, and killed by the sitting commander-in-chief. Nobel Peace Prize. No new wars. Hundreds of years, 30 in jail, 30 plus felony counts. Fairness.
We just live in perilous times.
Put his name in the chat. You know it.
It does seem kind of heartening. I think he raised more money in the hours after the verdict than anyone's ever raised. How much he raised?
Over $38 million.
Oh, wow. I thought it was $12 million. $38 million.
That, in the first couple hours, small dollar donors, and then there was a bunch of big dollar donor stuff. That's what's interesting. I mean, there are
shout out to Tim Pool who maxed out the donation.
Tech VC guys, respected guys, that Hillary donors and even probably Biden donors that are like, okay, I've seen enough. Stroking 6 and 7 figure checks now because I think people who are watching closely enough truly understand just how far we have fallen. Just how close we are perhaps to that, fulcrum point where there's a point of no return, right?
Yes.
And I think if we ever let it get there, there's no question in my mind that the Democrat elite, they'd maintain and seize that power, and it'll happen like all communist nations, and that's where we're at. And I think people see that, and people who may not even agree with Trump on everything, and you don't have to agree with Trump on anything. I obviously agree with him on everything, Tucker, as the dutiful son.
And that's your bias. You put it out there. Obviously, you're going to be on your dad's side. But as long as that's out there, as long as we're aware that that's where you're coming from, I don't see any issue with you having biases. We all have biases. Be aware of your biases, be upfront about your biases so that other people can take that into account. There's nothing wrong with being a human being who has thoughts of their own.
But
it's reached a level of principle, though.
Yeah, but it's like, again, name a metric where we're better off under Joe Biden. We're on the brink of World War III with the world's largest nuclear superpower by volume of nuclear capable ballistic missiles. I don't know. We're going to keep funding that. We're okaying a guy that was a former weirdo actor to send the U.S. made missiles into Russia, provoking that, I guess. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's the next distraction, right? COVID was the distraction for 2020 to allow them to manipulate things. Maybe World War III is the distraction, for this election.
Some of us called this a year ago.
Yeah,
the senile man can't win. They're going to bring us to war. Yeah.
Honestly, I don't say that lightly, but I also don't say it I don't know. Would I be at all surprised? Not even. I think it's lunacy. I think it's crazy, but do I think they would do it? 100%.
Abdulrahman Anwar al-Awlaki. Abdulrahman Anwar al-Awlaki. An American citizen. Not like, the people who came over the border illegally and then just got amnesty because reasons. Somebody who had an American passport. Dead. I am a little disappointed in y'all. I thought y'all have that. That should be right off the top of y'all's head. And Anwar al-Awlaki is enough for people to know. If you say Anwar al-Awlaki, people know what you mean. And so yeah, if we're going after former presidents, sure, Bill Clinton, sure, okay, yeah, whatevs. He's on the list for sure. War crimes and such. But he's not at the top. But guess who's at the bottom? Donald Trump.
100%.
Do you think, last question, but it's just, and I might be skipping ahead, but I don't think we're far from, we're at war with Russia.
Oh, of course.
If we're targeting
that whistleblower talking about the boots.
Oh shit, David, I don't know if you're watching, but it just says my dog almost died by a Bezos box tonight. I don't know what that means, but obviously, as a dog lover, I am sorry to hear that. See, come join the after party, and we're gonna figure out what the hell happened, and what is a Bezos box.
on the ground. I mean, that, like, I've never seen a whistleblower disappear that
You do get a pass.
fast in my life.
Yeah, you wonder
I wonder why, huh? It's almost like it's happening.
But they would need, the military is in very tough shape and recruitment is way down. No one wants to join the training military, understandably. Now they're talking about, well, who would, right?
Well, the guys you'd want fighting a war for you, good, patriotic, red-blooded Americans, they don't want to go report to Trans Admiral, not because if the Trans Admiral was Patton, maybe they'd do it.
Yeah.
The Trans Admiral ain't Patton.
No.
Okay. The Trans Admiral is only an admiral because they're trans, not because they're competent or capable, and it doesn't matter.
It's grotesque.
A big part of signing up for that and possibly dying for your country is actually believing in the things that you're fighting for. That's the basics of patriotism.
That's exactly.
And if you don't,
That's a solid ass point that I mean, we all knew this, but one of the basics of patriotism and fighting for the country is caring about what that stands for. The Taliban still has American hostages from the withdrawal disaster. This administration don't give a fuck. Hey, we chilling, right? We don't give a fuck about nothing. We partying. Hey, oh wait, we're talking about American lives. So that's not the opinion we should have. Got it. All right.
For your country is actually believing in the things that you're fighting for. That's the basics of patriotism.
That's exactly.
And if you don't believe in those things and you understand that you're going to be vilified, you're going to be forced to not learn how to shoot, but do diversity training. Why on earth would you do that? I wouldn't.
And that's the problem they're facing. And so, the one solution was take illegal aliens and put them in the military, so we could have
or flood our borders and put them in the voting roster, and that's another way to make up power because you've lost other demographics that were reliable voters.
But they're also talking about the draft. You're hearing that all of a sudden. Well, maybe we need a draft.
Yeah, so we can be in never-ending wars. Again, what no one's articulated to me, and I kind of do this now. Feels like for a living, like no one's articulated what does victory in Ukraine look like. I don't know what it means.
Oh, wrong one. I was supposed to be allowed. What does victory in Ukraine look like? Motherfucker, there ain't no such thing as victory in Ukraine. The fact that they got our money is the win for Ukraine. There's no win for America in that situation at all. At least in Israel, there's the legitimate worry about World War III that definitely the U.S. helped along, but we're there. We're there now. At least at this point today, regardless of the fact that we didn't need to be here, we are here. Ukraine? I could not give less of a fuck.
Like,
I don't know.
Is it just like perpetual death of Ukrainians and Russians until they're all wiped out and, BlackRock comes in there and takes over all the farmland? I mean, is that what it is? Because feels like that's what it is to me.
They're already selling off land in Ukraine to foreign investors, and they will flood Ukraine with third world immigrants, and Ukraine will not exist in 50 years. There'll be no Ukrainian nation, and we betrayed them like no other country ever. But I just ask you, would people actually serve in a draft?
Let's put that up to a poll. What do you think a draft would even be effective? Like, would people actually, if people were drafted, would they, call up? Would they go and fight? Or would we have a nation? Because if you think about Vietnam, draft dodging was such a horrible thing. But, again, we live in a very different landscape. And there's a lot of, it's not the same thing to say I'm not going to go fight that war. That's not looked at as the same thing. See, I think what he's getting at is that the Biden administration wants regime change in Russia. I'm good. We don't. I mean, maybe in a magical utopian world, if that's on the list, leave well enough alone. What are we doing? That's insane. That's what he's getting at. That the Democrats want a regime change war in Russia. That is so insane. Because even if that were to happen, and I just saw something on let's see if I can find it. Trump on Iraq and Trump on WMDs. Yes.
When you said that George W. Bush, which was our last Republican president, a man I respect greatly, a person that we really fought for when he was up against a lot of pressure, that he lied to get us in the war in Iraq. That stung me very deeply.
Okay.
I don't believe that.
Gotta catch me. I'm small. You can't find me.
I'm just wondering, given some time passing, perhaps you've rethought that. Would you be willing to rethink that?
Well, a lot of people agree with what I said, and I'm not talking about lying. I'm not talking about not lying. Nobody really knows why we went into Iraq. The Iraqis did not knock down. It was not Saddam Hussein that knocked down the World Trade Center. Okay,
that's just what you said was they lied. They said there were weapons of mass destruction, and there were none, and they knew there were none. There were no weapons of mass.
Well, there are a lot of people that think that. There were a lot of people that think, look, bottom line, there were no weapons of mass destruction. They said there are weapons of mass destruction. I was against the war when it started.
Do you think
So this is from February 2016.
President of the United States, George W. Bush, lied?
Well, look, I'm not going to get you a vote, but that's
Of course. I'll pull a jank. Of course. What do you mean? Do you think President Bush lied to us? Did he tell us the truth at any point?
okay. Let me
I'm just giving you another
let me
shot
tell you
at it.
something. I'll tell you very simply. It may have been the worst decision going into Iraq, may have been the worst decision any president has made in the history of this country. That's how bad it is, okay? Here's what happens. We have spent $2 trillion in Iraq and fighting Iraq. $2 trillion. Thousands of lives, right? We have wounded warriors who I love all over the place. These are the most incredible. These are braver than all of us in this room put together. I look at the attitude and I work with them, and these are great people. We got nothing. We have nothing. We're not even there. We can't even make a phone call right now.
But to his question,
I'm trying to separate.
I don't understand how you could look at this man and look at these, listen to those words, hear those words, and then think, what a liar. He doesn't actually mean that. Wait, what? Why would he be here? He's already rich. He was already popular. Everybody loved him. Why would you do this to yourself if you didn't actually care? Fine. Let's say that you hate every policy he's ever had. Why? Why is he doing this if he doesn't care? Lord Shadow Frost said, violating the law aside, if nothing else, Vietnam demonstrated how hard it is to maintain discipline and morale with an involuntary force. Very, very true. Yeah. Harley was saying, unless we became a totalitarian state and forced people to go, which is what a draft is, essentially, then no. But I don't know. I mean, what is this? I couldn't tell you the current state of the draft laws. As I understand it, it's still in effect, right? Like if it came to it, there already is the draft system, and we're all the men. We're I mean, I'm old now, but let's say I guess 18 to 30 or whatever. Like they have the. It's not like they would have to develop a system, right? Like the draft is in place. It's just that we haven't needed it. I don't know. I mean, I think the younger generations are so anti-war. Not that older generations aren't, but the younger generation collectively is so anti-war. I don't think it would be. I agree with you guys that it probably would not be effective. So finally, all right, agreed on something. All right, let's finish this up and head to the after party.
Do I believe he lied, or did he?
I can tell you this question. We got nothing. We have nothing. We're not even there. We can't even make a phone call right now.
But to his question,
I'm trying to separate.
Let me tell you. Do I know?
Do you believe he lied, or did he?
I can tell you this.
Yes.
I don't whether he lied or not. He went into Iraq. It was a horrible decision.
Horrible decision. And if Trump won't say it, I will. Obviously, he lied. So, I mean, again, this is, so yeah, Lord Shadow Frost saying all males having reached 18 years of age already volunteered selective service. There's no age where like they start, and I mean, obviously, like if you're 50 years old and they've really, they got down to everybody, they would inscribe you, but there's not an age range to start off. Mercy said, draft a bunch of infantile brats to have legit meltdowns when someone hurts their little feelings. What could go wrong? Yeah, I mean, people don't like from what I've seen on TikTok, the Zoomers don't even take the draft seriously to such an extent that I really think their apathy, if you want to call it that, would okay, yeah, the youngest and the fittest first. So so then they just start at 18 years old and go under. That's what I was thinking, like 18 to 25 or something like that. And then it's like by birthday and whatever. But yeah, I mean, think about those who are under 25 years old right now. What is their average problems? And I am certainly not acting like a big tough whatever, because I ain't fighting shit. But I'm just saying, there's people my age who definitely could handle themselves on the battlefield. Zoomers are Zoomers, you know what I mean? But, you know, I mean, this wasn't necessarily a groundbreaking stream. They can't always be. I can't be amazing every single day. But I try, and I think I did it pretty well. But, you know, yeah, if they reach us 50-year-olds, we have bigger problems, indeed. But that's what I'm saying is that, like, because you're male, you automatically would be like you're already volunteered. But again, I think it has to do with trust in the system, and it's just not something that is going to happen. So thank you so much for hanging out with me, guys. Let's shout out our boy, the Funk Master General, never coming through without dropping a little something, which helps out so very much. Pillar of the community. Cannot say enough about how much I appreciate the Funk Master General. But he wasn't the stream sponsor tonight. We had the Uncle Junior Network doing the damn thing. Thank you so much. No question, no comment, just pure love of the game. Cannon fodder indeed. So selective service is no longer required in the U.S. I thought, I don't know. We'll talk about it in the after party. Indeed, you as well, Lord Shadowfrost. Are you the same dude that I think you are? That's been here forever? That changes your name all the time? I think that's you. But thank you for hanging out, guys. I really do appreciate it. Thank you to the sponsors. Once again, this is Morty, and I am your host, Ludge, a.k.a. the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, I am out of here. Peace.